true to bring back a custom just for you, a dowry's charm to rekindle the fire. In a world where romance might expire, he'd gather gold with wit and flair, pledging his heart beyond compare. For in the shimmer of that old dear gold lies a tale of love, both brave and bold. Bring back the dowries, let's make it clear, a token of love that's sincere, building bridges heart to heart.
Welcome in, guys. Hope everybody's doing well. Probably be a shorter stream today. We'll probably do one or two songs, see if we get some folks in here. I love this song. His dream was simple yet profound. Oikophobic Misanthrope. Hope you're having a great evening too. Thank you. Saturdays are for the boys. Shout out Mr. Avalanche Pitt. It's great to see you. Dope Canada vid. Nice to see parts of the homeland I haven't visited. Canada was beautiful, man. I'm glad you enjoyed the video. I got to go back in there and respond to some comments. I was blessed to be able to go on that trip and hang out with the folks that I got to hang out with. Shout out to my buddy Nasuji and Castle and all the other folks I met up there. Yeah, man, I'm you know, Canada, it's such a cool place because it's not like that far away, you know, so you can go there and come back and have a good time. I hope you visit home soon there, Canada. Canada, Don DeMarco. I also really liked ketchup chips, man. I was looking at those, man, and they want $25 for a pack of 3, but it ships from Canada. So I really want to get some of those again, but $25 for 3 is a little steep. I'm about halfway through the Canada vlog. So far, it looks great. The editing was really well done. Thank you, man. I didn't do that. So Nasuji did that for me, man. My buddy that was up there. And it was far more than I deserve. I swear. I kept telling him, I'm like, dude, I don't want you to spend too much time on this, man. But he did a phenomenal job. And, you know, he made it with the goal of just to give us something, a memento to go back and watch, you know, even years from now. So I'll probably watch that video many times myself. It's a fun video, man. I think you're going to enjoy the second half, too. Yo, good evening, Klaus. Looks like we can get the show started. Coffee crisps are indeed the bomb. Yeah. It was cool trying new things, man. My favorite were the ketchup chips. I also really like Tim Hortons. Tim Hortons is Tim Hortons was really good. I like their, I don't know, I wish we had Tim Hortons in California, man. They had great bagels and you can get donuts and they actually have like tea that was good. It was just fantastic. I don't know, man. Maybe it's just where I live, but I can't find a straightforward place like that. Yo, Male Space. Happy New Year, everyone. Shout out, man. Yeah, that's right. Happy New Year. Welcome to 2026, folks. I mean, we made it. Looks like 2026 is already starting off with some action. So here's to a positive and fantastic, you know, year. Hope everybody has good stuff going on. I got a lot of stuff coming down the pipeline. I actually just filmed my discussion with Effective Purpose today. You guys remember Effective Purpose? We reacted to one of his videos, which we appreciated. Oh, crap. I don't even know what I just did. I accidentally made my whole YouTube full screen. I don't even know how to change it. Was that F11? Escape. There we go. Whew. It was just escape. Okay. Let's see. Effective purpose. Sorry. Looks like this. Anytime a computer updates. Right here, this gentleman. We reacted to. It was his. He did a whole thing on how did it get so bad. So we did these ones right there. But yeah, so him and I recorded a discussion today, and he's gonna be posting that soon. So fun stuff, man. Fun stuff. As soon as it gets posted, I'll let you know. And then Glenn Lawrence also is gonna be posting our discussion. It did happen. We filmed that last week, and it was with him and Gia McCool. So right now it's posted in his, I think, members only place. That's what I heard. Someone reached out to me and said they watched it there. But it should be posted to, you know, his normal stuff here coming up. I think so anyways. That's the impression I'm under. So that'll be a fun discussion. There was a point there towards the end where Michael Sartain actually joined us. We didn't really get to have an extended discussion, but he said a little bit about, you know, his point of view on some things, and I didn't really have a chance to respond to him, but Glenn asked me another question, and then I said some stuff, and Michael Sartain was listening in, but it was pretty much the end of the interview because, you know, it was winding down. So what I heard from the person who watched the members only is that they were able to hear Michael Sartain there. I don't think he was on camera, though. So I did get to meet him, basically. But it was like a very quick kind of thing. So when Glenn posts this on his regular channel, then I'll share it with you guys, and then you can see Michael Sartain there at the end, or at least hear Michael Sartain. So yeah, it did happen. That's coming up soon. Yeah. So and then I have another collab this Saturday as well. So the Saturday coming up, and you know that'll be with City Crusher. So City Crusher and I will be having a discussion. I'm not sure where we're going to be, if that's going to be posted on mine or his. I really don't mind either way. You know, whatever the folks want to do is cool with me. So I'll reach out to him and see. But so we will have 3 collabs in 3 weeks: Glenn, Effective Purpose, City Crusher. And then there's some other folks that I got to schedule some stuff with, and I'm going to follow up with them, and hopefully we can get some collabs with them. Base FCZ would be one of them. And then also Nuclear Cadillo. So I do got to follow up with them. I'm happy to get these 3 out of the way. I might give myself a couple weeks in between. So yeah, stuff's coming down the pipeline. And then beyond that, you know, I want to start making like just short 9-10 minute videos. Nothing too crazy, just me talking to a camera. So I'll begin that in the second half of the month. So hopefully we should be getting a lot more content. First stream of the year. Heck yeah. I know. You know, I almost didn't do the stream today. I was just really tired. I had this bad headache last night, and I was like, "Crap! I don't want to have to cancel on Effective Purpose." And I was like, "No, I gotta just power through it." And then when our discussion started, my headache wasn't that bad, and then it kind of went away. It's still there a little bit, but I don't want to miss streaming tonight. Timmy Ho's coffee is quite good. Is that what they call it? Timmy Ho's. I did hear him call it Timmy's. Like, you guys want to get some Timmy's? Yeah, that's a fantastic business, though. I wish they would bring that to the US. Effective Purpose is great. I just got into his stuff, too. I don't do church anymore, and he explains exactly why. I think you'll appreciate our conversation then. So when he posts it, I'll definitely share it in the Discord and stuff and let you guys know. It was a great conversation. Him and I both had a fantastic time just talking about this stuff. And so, yeah, I'm looking forward to see how it's received. Sartain is cool. I like him. Yeah, he's definitely a fixture in the space. I've seen him in a lot of places. So, you know, we didn't really get to have an extended discussion, but he kind of made a cameo in my discussion with Glenn and Gia. So that was cool. Yet another interesting thing there. Degeneracy seems the only option in our culture, which is sad. I don't want that at all. Yeah, we did talk a little bit about hedonism, and that kind of, you know, problem. So, you know, it's just, it's almost amazing that they managed to make marriage such a horrible deal that guys would rather turn to that. You know what I mean? Like marriage was supposed to be the safe option. So yeah, it's not looking good. Hey guys, what's going on, boys? Yo, shout out to you, man. Thanks for coming in. Happy New Year to you. Yeah, man, we're just hanging out. Today we're gonna be watching a video by John Griffin, and it's called "Emasculation is Destroying Men in Marriage." This was suggested by one of the fellers here, Trust Mr. 2. So he gave us this video. There's that video from that feminist about, you know, her kind of taking on how the manosphere views EvoPsych and, you know, apparently showing some things that aren't correct. And I did want to react to that one, but I just had a lot of screen time today, so I figured I would save that for probably next week, just so I can come to it with full energy, even though I will be talking to City Crusher on Saturday. But so yeah, forgive me if I'm a little low energy today, guys. I'll probably only be on for just this video. It's a 29-minute video, so knowing us, that'll probably get us to 2 hours. Golden Retriever asleep on my chest. Man, that's the best, dude. Shout out to the animals out there. To the furry friends and family members, of course. I suggested that in Discord. Oh, that's you. Oh, hey, man. Well, great to see you. Now I know you're the same person as my alter ego. Awesome. Awesome. All right. Well, Klaus is here already. I mean, ain't no sense in waiting. We might as well just go ahead and enjoy the video, huh? You know, I'm subscribed to this guy. I've watched a few of his videos. He had some that got really big, got a lot of attention, and he seemed to stick with it. I don't remember much of his story, but I think he was married and kind of went through the grinder. And, you know, I guess more or less ended up going MGTOW, which is, you know, interesting. So I haven't really watched this. I watched like the first 40 seconds of it, but I think we can, you know, just hang out. Maybe it'll be like an LFA video or something. A Male Space also suggested a video. I was a bit reticent to react to that one only because it's more of just like an audio discussion. But there's some interesting things here. The Red Pill is a very useful school of thought that has exposed the evil of the sexual revolution and its effect on today's young men. Its terminology is discussed here and its important contributions are laid out in some detail, but its errors too need to be understood. It's an hour long, so, you know, a little longer for what I was planning tonight. The hypersexualization of the world derived from the regime's desire to destroy men and families and are not inherent to humanity. The sexual revolution is a lie, yet its power cannot be denied. However, what young males face in 2025 has nothing to do with human nature, but rather its destruction. So if you guys are interested in that, you might want to listen to this too. I was hoping to have energy for that tonight, but yeah, I don't think I'm going to. So yeah, but shout out to ML Space for sharing that. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into this. Oh gosh, I got to. My little Master Chief is in the way. Okay. So hopefully the volume is loud enough. Let me put that a little louder. Yeah, he does these cool walking around in nature videos, and he's got his drone out and stuff. I'd like to do videos like this someday if I was, you know, I just feel like I don't live close enough to, I mean, like I could find a place like this, but it's going to require like a 25-minute drive, you know, so one of these days. All right, moving in, guys.
Over the last year, I have had the
not
privilege
too
to talk to hundreds of men in my coaching sessions, one-on-one, in the newly formed group sessions, and I've read their emails, I've read their text messages, I've read their comments, and I've come to the conclusion that there is one factor, more than any other single factor, that contributes to the divorce rate that we're seeing. And not only the divorce rate, but I would argue the destruction of marriage as an institution in our society.
We've definitely talked about how that's been destroyed as an institution, especially legally. I mean, in so many ways. 3 dogs, he's winning. Yeah. Seems like he's chilling with his homies.
One thing that women do, and I don't even think they're fully aware of how destructive it is, and that's emasculation. Emasculation in my opinion, not only does it tear down a marriage, dissolve a marriage, a family.
Real quick, I don't know if this would be a fair comparison, but do you think it's fair to say emasculation is pretty much just like shit tests? You could say, like, if a woman's trying to emasculate you, is that essentially a shit test in which, the red pill answers there can deal with? Let's go ahead and do a poll. Let's see. Is emasculation a form of a shit test? Maybe not formally a form, but, it seems to remind me of that. So there's our fun poll for the night. I don't know. I'm also trying to think too, like, I don't know if I can remember instances of being emasculated. Like, I don't know. Maybe I just haven't seen through that lens in so long that I don't even recognize it when it happens. Or you could just be so good at passing the shit test, quote unquote, that you don't even remember emasculation as a thing. If emasculation is in fact a shit test. So I don't know. If you guys want to share stories of emasculation, that would be interesting. Though I feel like it's one of those things where it's like men would probably not really share those stories. It's almost like being emotional. There would be no emasculation if all the laws directly benefited women. That's an interesting way. An institutional emasculation. Yeah, that's, so that, I like that. If all the laws did not. Yes. Okay, yeah. So you can say there's collective emasculation. Also reminds me of that maxim that used to go around that feminism is like a shit test that society has collectively failed. It's only emasculation if you fail the shit test. That's what I mean. Like, if, someone can attempt to emasculate you, but maybe you can be so good at just like dodging that you don't even remember emasculation's a thing. Casey Zander spoke on this recently too. Men are taught to respect all women, but women are taught to treat themselves as the top priority. I think that's true. And he's talking about emasculation in marriage. And I would say, maybe once two people are married, and you got the sword of Damocles above you, then it's probably a hell of a lot easier to emasculate you. Like, was Tom Brady emasculated by his wife? I think you could probably make the case for that, I don't know. So just things to think about. This is just where my mind goes.
But it also destroys a man that often leads to him taking his own life. And it makes marriage an institution that is failing because men don't want to get into it. Men do not want to go down that path.
Yeah, I mean, so far it's a bad deal. And, when I hear it as an institution, I think of something that's like formally, enshrined in law and culture. And our laws have kind of gutted marriage so badly that it's definitely hurt marriage, the institution, I would say. Hey, FX Trader, man. Great to see you in here. Men raised by single women are trained to be emasculated all the time. Yeah, very much so. Very much so. And, how much, I wonder if the likelihood of you emasculated is directly proportional to how bought in you are with society's version of masculinity that they are trying to sell you, especially masculinity as utility for women. You know what I mean? So when it comes to that, then maybe it's easier to be emasculated. But if you kind of walk away from the gynocentrism and somebody tries to emasculate you, it's probably a little harder to do, especially if you don't buy into whatever the narrative is. Exactly, Shaw. Once you're married, you have to take the emasculation or get divorced and lose half your stuff and custody of your children. Emasculation is incentivized. Yeah, I mean, and that would match, you know what I mean? Like, would it also be true to say it's harder to pass the shit test in the marriage, Yo, Nasuji, shout out to you. We were just talking about the Canada video, man. Baby Shaw, the one and only. It's great to see you, man. Dude, I was looking up some ketchup chips today, and it was $24.99 for 3 bags. I almost hit buy on it, but I looked at the price history, and it said it was 16 to 24, and it had gone up in the last 30 days. So I set a price alert. So hopefully the ketchup chips will drop down to like $18, and I'll snag 3 bags. Man, you look comfy right now. I really am, man. I actually was not feeling well today, but I'm a little better now. So, we don't stop. We don't stop. Donna Mark says, respect all women erodes men's ability to say, I don't give an F, which is a masculine inclination and attitude. Exactly. Yeah. It gets harder to say, no, thank you. You know what I mean? And, I don't know. I just like this imagery here, man, doing what he wants to do. There's an appropriate level of, I don't give a F you need in life to pass tests and just in general. Yeah, and I think to have that level of I don't give an F means you have to somewhat disconnect from whatever the overarching cultural narrative of masculinity happens to be, at least to some extent, W. Nasuji, absolutely. Shout out to Nasuji. That's diabolical. That's so much. When I come over I'll bring some. Yeah, please, man. Bring the ketchup chips, dude. They were honestly really good. And then watching the video again just made me really want some ketchup chips. Let's see. Yeah, so, all right, moving back in.
Because any way you cut it, emasculation is emotional and psychological abuse. And women get away with it, and they're supported and even encouraged to do it.
They absolutely do. I think society allows women and really everybody in general to just take jabs at men, and it's supposed to be okay. But men are humans with emotions and feelings too, and after a while, it's like, how many times are you gonna, be willing to just put up with that? Or I don't know. It's just disrespectful, and you see it a lot in media too, especially like in the past 20 years or so. But it's just the man's stupid, and here comes the woman with the right answer, and then makes the guy look like crap. And it's like, man, we're all, it's boring. Like we're all kind of done with that. Shaw, look in the international ethnic area of the grocery store. That's where I find coffee crisps and other Canada stuff. I'll try to do that. I've never found, I would love to find like those Lay's ketchup chips. Those ones are really good. We do have a store around where I am that has a lot of different international stuff. So maybe they'll have that. That would be great. I just read above, man. I'm so happy you guys watched the video. Such a vibe. Heck yeah, man. And thanks again for your wonderful editing work. Nasuji edited a almost 2-hour video from 9 hours of footage and then put background music and all kinds of effects and stuff. It was the best editing this channel has ever seen. I'll tell you that. Well done, my Canadian brother, editing and such. Absolutely. 67% say yes about the emasculation.
Every level of our society. So today, I want to talk about emasculation, how it affects men, how it appears in relationships, why it appears, and what we can do about it. This is Life 2.0. Let's talk about it. The irony in this whole situation, of course, is that women like to think of themselves as the more emotionally intelligent gender. And emotional intelligence usually means that you have
I feel like emotional intelligence is another way for them to try to say, like, you're dumb. Obviously, well, it's called intelligence, but somehow, since they seem to, like, inherently have the moral high ground, or a better understanding of the emotional sphere, then they can just, sit there and talk down to you about it. Meanwhile, men have to do way more emotional labor than anybody.
An awareness of how the things you're saying are affecting the people you're saying them to.
It's interesting too, it's like you think of your two halves of your brain, and it's like there's something that's literally said, but then there's also the context that's placed in, so things can take on other meanings and be interpreted differently. And the stereotype for men is that men are supposed to be the more logical ones, unless they see a nice pair of tatas. But I don't know. Apparently, on the other end here, when it comes to context and right hemispheric stuff, a sentence said in this context and a sentence said in that context can mean two totally different things, or if they're said in a different tone or whatever that happens to be. So fun stuff there. Emotional intelligence, EQ, is fake. There's no measurement for it. IQ, on the other hand, has a measurement. Yeah, I can see that. I can see that being the case.
Yet any psychiatrist or therapist or psychologist or anyone else in the mental health...
I'm sure there's probably some, random survey you can take that tells you your emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is just another way to make sure men never measure up. If you're perfect in every other regard, she can still claim you lacked emotional intelligence to justify her exit. Yeah, that's true. That's true. It's something that you can easily move the goalposts on instead of some sort of, literal logical answer that would make sense.
Yet any psychiatrist or therapist or psychologist or anyone else in the mental health field will tell you that the tactics that they're using, the specific ways that they're implementing emasculation, is emotional and psychological abuse. And if you did it to a child, you'd probably have that child removed from your home. But they are doing it every single day to men. And I don't think they understand just what that means to men. There's a huge misunderstanding that women have when it comes to men in relationships. Women think that men are adversarial with women when it comes to relationships, and nothing could be further from the truth. Men love women at a deep and intense level.
Yeah, that's probably where the logic runs out, but that's all part about being human. So far, I like what he's saying, though. I think it makes sense, and I think there is a lot of emotional abuse that comes to men, from that side. There's probably a survey, sure, but it tells you which friend's character you are. Yeah. Lacking emotional intelligence just means you didn't do what I told you. Yeah, exactly. You were abusive.
When a woman that a man loves deeply commits to him, and
see, and the loves deeply part, I feel like Red Pill would look at that and say, you got one-itis. You need to break the one-itis. You know what I mean? Speaking of Red Pill, let's see how that poll is. So 62% say emasculation is a form of a shit test. 38% say no. Maybe we can even say emasculation is what happens when the shit test has failed, in a way. Though the shit test would still be an attempt at emasculating. So, I don't know. Fun with the words there. But, I think the one thing that the Red Pill, at least the community around it, that was agreed upon was that one-itis was not good. And, you lack the abundance mentality, right? So being red-pilled meant adopting this abundance mentality that would be a kind of shield to having one-itis and then being easier to exploit and abuse. He's talking about somebody that deeply loves the woman. So, that would be the one-itis there.
he commits to her. He becomes single-focused. His mission in life
Abundance mentality goes away.
is to make that relationship work, is to be everything that woman needs him to be. He wants nothing more than to win her praise and appreciation at every single turn.
And a lot of this seems like a kind of, result of chivalry. This is the chivalrous man. This is romantic chivalry. It leads to this.
And I would argue that from the very beginning, right after the wedding bells, right after the honeymoon, they get home, and he is doing everything he can think of to be the best man that he can possibly be. And yet something happens in there after that wedding occurs. And it's subtle at first. And it's these little teeny tiny insults, these little teeny tiny emasculate.
The little barbs, little needles here and there, and they just build up over time. I remember Joe Rogan years ago talking about it, because I think, he's married and he has like two daughters. Or this was years ago. God, I don't know how many kids he has, but I think he had a daughter and a wife, or two daughters or something. And so he lived with all women pretty much. And he kind of described it as having a big pile of marbles, and every day, you know, they come by and they just take one marble. So over time, you know, that stuff kind of tries to, like, it wears on you a bit. The same thing could probably happen with coworkers to some extent. Like if you work with a lot of women in an office or something, you know, that could be a thing. So you got to develop these kinds of interpersonal skills to learn how to deal with that.
Comments to help remove that man's sense of confidence and power, and to shift that power away from him and into her hands.
In a way, I think it's making him doubt his masculinity, or at least doubting his confidence in his own masculinity. And then she becomes the dispenser of that validation of being a masculine man, and he wants her approval or whatever the hell it happens to be, and love and all that.
And it's very, very subtle in the beginning, but it becomes more and more dramatic over time.
I hope he kind of gives some example of comments, because if the comments are kind of like exactly what a shit test is, then, you know, we could think about, you know, how would you navigate the shit test? You know, there's so let's see.
And every single time it happens, that man loses just a little teeny tiny bit of himself. Every single day of his life, it gets
He loses a bit of power.
worse and worse and worse.
We got the droney. Here comes the droney. Nice.
In my own marriage, I did not recognize emasculation. In fact, I didn't even really fully understand what emasculation was and how it would appear in my life. It started off with little things like her expressing dissatisfaction with the fact that I wouldn't come home from work and immediately take over the baby. I remember that was a big thing right away.
Do you think that, you know, he's obviously he's a little older, well, than some of us. But do you think Gen Z or the younger generation would probably recognize the emasculation way faster and have a way of putting up with it, or not putting up with it, but kind of pushing back on it? Maybe, maybe not, you know. I guess what I'm asking is, has the level of simpery gone down with the generation? Though arguably it probably has gone way higher if you look at e-girls and Twitch and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know, but part of me, you know, thinks if Red Pill went mainstream, then maybe it wouldn't be this bad. Like, I feel like this guy has a reason that he didn't recognize it, because it probably happened in the time before a lot of this stuff was more well known, you know. Klaus says, I feel emasculated by HR. They make me learn about the interpersonal issues. I don't like it. It's just a kind of humiliation ritual to some extent. Simps are in full force these days, brother. Yeah, I know, man. So, unfortunately. Oh, God. Yeah. It's not looking good. Some are red pill aware, many are not. The criteria for emotional intelligence is intentionally kept ambiguous. Yeah. Insert CGA, I'm not happy soundbite. Yeah, exactly. So it's just so easy to move the goalposts on. Single moms ensure the perpetuation of simpery. Very true.
And she would be very critical of me and really call into question my commitment to the relationship, my commitment to my child, my commitment to, and she would be very critical of me and for the baby. I'm satisfaction with the
fact. It's interesting, you know, coming home from work and immediately he has to take over baby duty. So what's this whole thing about the man being a provider and the woman nurtures, you know, takes care of the kids and all that, when you come home and the first thing you got to do is take over baby duty? So it's all kind of BS then, right? So you're sharing half of the workload, you know, half of the home domestic workload with her anyways. Another reason why they should be contributing material actual goods into the family.
No dowry. It's my right.
Gen Z here. Yes, I see when people emasculate me, and I usually just ask directly what they mean. Force them to overt, not covert. So I return the sass calmly. I like that, man. That's a great strategy, dude. Yeah, I like that. You know, when you sense they're trying to do something covert, put them in a corner to have to basically overtly state that. Then they're going to be like, you lack emotional intelligence. I shouldn't have to tell you. I shouldn't have to tell you what I need. If you were a man, you would have just known and bent over backwards to give it to me. Nah, from what I see, it's only the red pill part of Gen Z which stops simping. Yeah, I think you're right there. Hey, Male Space, regarding the shit test, read the essay, The Question of Female Masochism by Roger Devlin. Great, insightful essay. Yo, Male Space, if you want to, I know that video you sent, if there's any specific timestamps in there where he's talking about what red pill gets wrong, if you want, share that in the chat. If not, totally okay. And after this video, I can try to pull that up so we can listen to it. It's just hour and 12 minutes, so it'd be a long reaction, but if there's like a part of it you think is really good, I can bring it up after this. Excellent. Yeah, shout out to the Triple C or Theic. I'm not sure exactly what name he's going for there.
That I wouldn't come home from work and immediately take over the baby. I remember that was a big thing right away.
But I thought he was the provider and protector. Hold on. The roles aren't making sense.
And she would be very critical of me and really call into question my commitment to the relationship, my commitment to my child.
God, that sounds so annoying. Shout out to this man for putting up with it for as long as he did.
Commitment to our lives together. Because after working a very long day, I'm the only one who's working, and she's staying at home with a baby.
Only one who's working, yeah, sole provider. And, she's selling herself on, I'm going to be home taking the kids and providing you with the home for when you get back home from work and all these things. But suddenly you get back home and it's just like, Wara, you need to start taking care of the baby now. You know what I mean? So, I don't know, man. There's been a lot of overselling in terms of roles here.
That I would not just take over control of that baby the moment I walked in the door. The idea that I needed some time to transition from work mind, change
you got to unwind a little bit when you get home.
My clothes, get into something comfortable, and maybe sit down and relax for half an hour or so, was just not in her head. She believed that my job was easier than her role of being a stay-at-home mom with an infant. And she made it clear to me that that's what she believed. So you can see the emasculation that's occurring here. Number one.
That's interesting, man. And that's a really good example. Obviously us guys who haven't been married can't describe that, but people who have been cohabitated, would probably have experienced that. You know what this marriage was missing?
Your dowry. It's my right.
That might have changed some things.
One, she's being critical of me right from the very beginning, that I'm not doing something that I should be doing as a man and as a father and as a husband.
As a man. See, all that's the emasculating.
So that's extremely emasculating.
And how terrible is that too, to sit there and tell your husband that he's, not being a good husband. And I don't know, imagine if it was the other way around and just like, you're not being a real woman. A real woman would be able to handle that. I don't know, so I think it's a terrible thing to do.
Number two, she's telling me that my job that's paying all the bills.
Sole provider, man. Sole provider. If you're gonna do that, man, you gotta do it right.
Which one of these broads has the richest father?
Yeah.
If you're gonna offer that deal, man, you gotta negotiate.
What's the dowry situation?
Exactly.
Let's get down to brass tacks here.
You don't want to end up with this.
I have no dowry. If anything, I have a negative dowry.
There was a dowry or a bride price.
Is not as hard as her job staying at home babysitting. That I am not as important to the well-being of the family as she is. Yeah, that kind of eats away at you, It's no wonder I didn't want to talk to her for a while after that, But that was a recurring theme in our relationship after our daughter was born.
Wow.
Those kinds of emasculating comments. And I didn't even realize that's what it was when it was happening. I just thought, she's being a bitch. Like, what the fuck is wrong with her? What happened to the woman that I married? Who the hell is this cunt? Because
I think that's what Coach calls the bait and switch. This is the bait and switch.
I don't get it. Why am
And
I?
she probably sold herself as this like demure feminine woman that was just all about being traditional and you're going to be the provider and I'm going to be the mom. And then all of a sudden it's just like, and what are you going to do at that point? They're married, They're married. 3110 from Male Space. Perfect. Thank you. You know what? I'll notate that down. I'll notate that down on my notepad. 3110. 3110. Question spinning plates. Yeah. You know, hopefully it'll be okay to just start it around there and listen to the discussion. So maybe we'll try that a little later on. I was just a bit reticent to make that the premiere because there was no visual to that. I just feel like when we react to stuff, it is nice to have a visual. I mean, we can listen a bit. There's going to be a lot of this, you know, a lot of switching between camera angles for me to try to make it look interesting. So just to let you know, but thank you for that. Hey, JP, man, thanks for the super chat. Appreciate that. $4.99. Hope you've been well, Shaw. How have you been lately? I've been all right, man. You know, I just been a little busy and stuff with work. Just trying to get my energy levels up, man. Still grateful to be here. I just want to be able to produce more content and, you know, hopefully get some more stuff done. Work's going chill. Got a lot going on there. I haven't really exercised for a while. I think I put on probably like a good 10 pounds probably. I haven't even weighed myself. But, you know, we know what to do about that. Hope you've been well, man. Thank you so much for that super chat. I appreciate that. And yeah, man. That's why I don't cohabitate. I share the fun times, not the relaxing time. Yeah. See, I mean, and if it's gonna come to cohabitating, then there needs to be a new household set up, and both people need to set up that household.
Your dowry, it's my right.
So that both people can respect it, you know? Whoa, he's going Super Saiyan. Klaus, that's the way to go, my friend. Thank you again, JP. My bad, typo. No worries, man. No worries. Appreciate you.
Why am I going through this? Why am I married? Who the hell? I just thought, she's being a bitch. Like, what the fuck is wrong with her? What happened to the
bait and switch? The bait and switch.
Woman that I married? Who the hell is this cunt? Because I don't get it. Why am I going through this? Why am I dealing with this crap from this woman that I've given everything to? I've made every one of her dreams come true.
Yeah, see, and it sounds like they had a deal. You know, they had a deal of what the roles were going to be, and then suddenly there was switching. You know, I mean, all of a sudden there was switching it up. There was switching it up.
I've committed myself to her. I have bought this house. I
bought the house too. See that? I mean, we've saw the sources, man. It used to be the woman's family that purchased the house as the dowry. Italy, England, Germany, Greece, Cyprus. Instead, he buys the house. He did everything to make her dreams come true. He loved her. He loved her. You know, and what was returned? What was returned?
I have no dowry. If anything, I have a negative dowry.
First time I heard this dude drop expletives. I know, right? Yeah, it's true. I've seen some of his videos. I don't think he usually does.
Paid every bill.
Paid every bill. Bought the house, man.
Gotten her pregnant. I was there in the delivery room. I was there with the labor.
Did all the emotional stuff. Yeah, did all the emotional labor, right? I mean, men have to do a lot of emotional labor for women. You know, people don't want to talk about that. He's letting them fly. Absolutely. Yeah, we try to limit the cursing on this channel. And by limiting, we don't really curse at all. I mean, it's pretty rare. I try my best not to. But you know, this is all part of reacting to content. So, you know. John is a good content creator. Not perfect, but has a bunch of really good videos. I think so too. I like him. I like his stuff.
I held her hand through the entire thing. I get up in the middle of the night and take care of this baby. I take this baby on the weekends. I am doing everything a man can do.
Yeah, and I think that's a lot of men do that. You know, and a lot of my buddies with babies too, men are helping out with childcare a lot. And with a lot of stuff. I mean, I got buddies who cook, you know what I mean, and do all that stuff. So, you know, there's just a whole lot of complaining going on from the other side, unfortunately, eventually, and it just leads to a bust. We had a deal. I am altering the deal. Pray I don't alter it any further. Exactly. Or I'm going to Big Brother government. Thank you. No fault divorce. Paul Elam had a great tweet recently. He basically said that women are the emotional labor in a relationship. Yeah, I mean, think about how much emotional labor you got to do. I mean, all of you guys have probably been there, even just in a regular relationship where you see, you know, your girlfriend or something, and it's like you just got to listen to them talk and hear about every single thing that happened throughout the week. And, you know, you got to, dang, no, that's crazy. You know what I'm saying? And you know, if something's going on, like, you're going to have to sit there and you know, try to help them get back to center, basically.
Within reason, to help her with this baby. Her job is to sleep when the baby sleeps and to be awake when the baby's awake. And
that's probably the deal they had. Like, that was the deal, right? He probably sold herself on, I want to be a wife and a mother. I just want a family. And we're going to be traditional. And then all of a sudden it was just, as soon as he comes home from work, hasn't even taken a leak yet in the bathroom, still in his clothes. It was just like, hey, you got to start taking care of the baby. And it's like, oh, okay. All right. FYI, he saved his boy, first child he had from the child's horrible mom, through a lengthy lawfare before the wife he's talking about. Oh, wow. Okay, so it happened. Oh, wow, that's unfortunate. So this guy's been through the system twice. Man, it's interesting that he married the second time, but yeah, it sounds like now he's just really like, no, it's a raw deal. So maybe the first time he was probably like, well, maybe it was just her or something, maybe even me. And then the second time it was just the same nonsense. And he's like, you know what? I'm out. Thanks for that background, Murder of Crows. He goes into detail in his first vids. Okay, I might have seen one of those because I know one of them got really viral. That's where I first saw him. A lot of people reacted to it.
feed the baby and change his diapers. That was her job.
There you go.
She resented the hell out of it. And I, as the husband and the father and the one who impregnated her, was responsible for this whole mess, obviously on some level. And that gave her the right to emasculate me.
You know what's the right?
Your dowry. It's my right.
Early in our relationship. And that's not where it ended. I mean, it just went on and on and on and on. Fast forward a decade or so, and she's decided that she's paid her dues as a wife. She no longer has to be intimate with me anymore. Like, she can forego sex.
Man, I wish Coach Greg Adams would react to this. This is essentially Coach's marriage wheel. This is like Coach's marriage wheel spot on. Oh my gosh.
From now on. Like, that's the end of sex.
I gotta hear that one more time. It was so bad.
She no longer has. She's decided that she's paid her dues.
Okay, yeah, so bait and switch and wife becomes a feminist. This is literally on Coach's marriage wheel.
As a wife. She no longer has to be intimate with me anymore. Like, she can forego sex from now on.
Oh gosh, yeah, that's planning the exit right there. The exit's being planned. Shout out to the 27 people who are watching, and thank you so much for the 13 likes. Guys, if you haven't liked the video, please hit the like button. That helps me.
That's the end of sex. Like, she's just not going to do that anymore. Now, we did have sex a few more times after that, but it was
possibly starfish. Okay, see, this is Coach's man. Coach has laid out the freaking the map on this territory.
Like, she's just not going to do that anymore. Now, we did have sex a few more times after that, but it was few and far between. When you're withholding...
Yeah, few and far between. Hey, Luke Nielsen. Shout out to you, man. Welcome in, bro. Brother Luke joining us. Great to see you, man. Bratcha. He wasn't married the first time. He got married in his 30s and had 2 kids. His ex-wife left him and their 2 daughters when they were like 18 and 22. Oh, wow. Okay. Dang. So he was, I see. Wow. Thank you for that. Hey guys. Sorry I'm late. Was at my parents. Hey, no worries, man. Appreciate you coming in and saying hi anyways, and just hanging out. No pressure, man. Hope your parents are doing well. What a blessing, man. What a blessing to have your parents and be able to hang out with them. What up? The investment phase ended and she turned off the sex in 0.3 seconds. Yeah. Except for like once or twice a year. Maybe when it was like his birthday or possibly Valentine's Day after a huge show of, emotional labor or something. This dude's usually pretty based. He is. I like his stuff. I like this video too. It's pretty good.
Intimacy. That
I want to hear
few
about
and
the
far-
sex
but
being
she's
shut
just
off.
not going to do that anymore. Now, we did have sex a few more times after that, but it was few and far between.
Yeah, there it is.
When you're withholding intimacy, that is a form of abuse. But it was beyond just the intimacy, because it was also just words of kindness.
Yeah, the emotional intimacy. It's not just the physical stuff. So he's talking about both forms of intimacy. So she went cold on him. She went cold. Now, of course, you know, the guys are going to get blamed. They're going to be like, well, you know, you must have missed something way earlier if she got to that point. If it took her to get to that, then you must have dropped the ball way earlier in this. And it's just such a red flag that you didn't notice this way before when you could have did something about it. You know, because people eventually get to the point where once they close that door, they just close that door and there's no reopening it. Did you take her needs into account? I'm just thinking of like every Reddit comment I've ever seen about this kind of stuff, you know? Oh my gosh. He didn't even know she was expecting and then informed him with the baby boy in hand. Oh, okay. They shacked up a bit, and when it went to crap, she kidnapped the kid and went out of state. Ah, the old parental alienation. Gosh, yeah, so sounds like a real baby trap there, huh? That's unfortunate. Yo, I hope you're doing well. Heck yeah. Don DeMarco, he has simp tendencies, but if we're all being honest, we've been there too. I certainly have. Yeah, I mean, listen, man, this is the normal man here, you know, and I think all of us have simped at one point or another, and, you know, that's a part of us that's in us that can grow unruly, you know, if not kept in check, you know. It's kind of like having to mow the lawns and trim the hedges a bit. And, you know, you got to be careful. Got to be careful. It could get stimulated again. But yeah. But, you know, again, I look at guys from like this age and maybe they could have known. I mean, you know, they did have some guys, like there was Patrice O'Neal back then, people like that. But by and large, you know, not really. So I kind of like, well, I kind of get it. You know, they were hit with overwhelming cultural programming and the laws kind of started to change. You know, in the mid 90s, child support got beefed up. No fault was spreading through the states. You know, yeah, 1969 in California, but then it took 20 years to spread to the rest of the states. I don't know where he's located. So, you know, things were changing and he kind of had to live through that. This is John Deloney. Exactly. It's because you're not hitting it right. You failed to hold frame, serve harder. Exactly. Were you taking her needs into account? Were you serving her, Mr. Servant Leader? Run dread game. Yeah, you got to do competition anxiety. He should have been hitting on the waitress, bro, in front of her, dude. That would have worked. Probably would have worked, but you know what I mean. Kira 15. If I cheat, I'm a narcissistic asshole. If she cheats, there must have been something I was doing wrong. Exactly. Shout out to you, man. I think this might be my first time seeing you, but great to have you in here. Yeah, exactly. You just weren't paying attention. You drove her to cheat, bro. Yeah. The double standards never end. I'm a bona fide simp. I just pick and choose when and who I am a simp to. Yeah, well, there you go. So, you know, you can call that strategic simping, I guess. I guess if you know what you're leveraging and you're, you know, like that advice they give for crypto, like don't invest in crypto what you're not willing to lose. I think that can apply here. You know, if you're going to go that route, only invest what you're willing to lose. Exactly, guys. All right, moving in. I like this nature video.
Was affection. It was just giving approval for me in any way, shape, or form. It was just a very low-grade level of cruelty that occurred continuously for 15 years, maybe longer.
Just took it for granted. 15 years, damn, it's a long time. It's a long time of being emotionally abused and having to do a bunch of emotional labor for literally nothing in return, you know? But if you love her, you wouldn't expect anything in return. What kind of a man are you that expects things in return? That's not true love. Um,
18 years. Just
18
a
years.
low-grade level of cruelty. And
gosh.
like I said, I was not
50.
aware of emasculation as a thing back in those days. It was not something that ever occurred to me.
Man, this guy must feel so free, like he got let out of prison or something. This man served 15 years, dude.
But as I reflect back on it now, I can clearly see how these emasculating tactics worked on me, and how they got in my head, and how they made me feel like less of a man every single day. And I remember in some videos in the past, I talk a little bit about how maybe I simped at that stage, where I was trying to win back her approval.
Yeah, see, and this, you know, it sounds suspiciously like a shit test, the way he describes it. You know what I mean? And I can't help but think about that. As far as this discussion's going. Yo, Fang, how you doing, man? This is why sex dolls are so much in demand. 10-10 sex and no risk of pregnancy with minimal maintenance for a one-time investment. You know, I'm one of those guys that doubts the sex dolls, but I don't know, man. I did see some clips on like Twitter or something of some of these advances in the space these people are making. You know, nothing will ever replace a woman for me, but if they make them good enough, I can see a lot of guys probably doing that. Matt Cross, who had a discussion with John from It's Complicated, he's a pickup artist, but he actually believes that the AI stuff like will take over and have an effect, including the robots. I was surprised to hear that from him, but maybe he's right. You know, possible investment idea, gentlemen.
But it was because of these emasculating statements and this emasculating environment that I was in 24/7. I was sort of immersed in this continuous withholding of affection and love, and this constant criticism that caused me to try to do something to save the relationship. But all that had done
is just push her further away and kind of dig a deeper hole. If they become the norm, either women will step up or the species will actually end. It'll be like that Futurama episode.
My behaviors at that time. But all that had done, my behaviors at that time, was play into the emasculation. What I had done by trying to win back her favor is I was playing exactly the role that she wanted me to play.
I wonder if like, and hopefully not, but I wonder if like his wife ended up cheating on him or something. Sounds like that was a huge possibility in the way he's describing this.
I was allowing the manipulation to control me. She had taken away my masculine power by withholding the things that I wanted most.
Yeah, and I would say also by him letting her be the person who defines what his masculinity is, you know, in a way, and you know, dispense that validation, I would say, you know, probably harmed that. So she only took it away because she got to describe what it was and he believed her, I guess.
Her approval, her affection, her intimacy, and giving me the things that I feared the most, her criticism, her anger, her venom, you know? She would just walk around the house with a sour face, not talking to me.
Damn, that sounds hella annoying, dude. Yeah, see, I mean, and this is where, you know, he was probably trying to do it the proper way and, you know, obviously be strictly monogamous and all that. And yeah, you know, you can abundance mentality your way out of this. There was someone sharing an account of basically cheating on their wife and they were in a dead bedroom and then the wife started sleeping with them again. I mean, she didn't know that he cheated on her, but in some weird way, it like fixed his marriage. I'm not saying to do that. I'm just saying like, it's just really odd. And that's where the red pill usually comes in with its observations of, you know, male, female nature. Hard to invest in robots. I've looked into that. The most promising robots are from China. Oh, well, that's too bad. Gosh. A woman has her cupboard fraught with, yeah, sex toys. Nobody bats an eyelid. Well, don't forget their bookshelves, guys. I mean, we got Morning Glory Milking Farm and some of those other bestsellers out there, you know. It's just a facade and same double standards for men when they are attached to a sex doll more than women. Could you imagine, like, you know how like upset a woman gets if you spend too much time playing video games? Could you imagine a guy that's like in a relationship or married and then his wife stops sleeping with him, so he buys a sex doll and he just keeps it in the house. My gosh. That would be so weird. But they would also demonize him, you know. Tinfoil hat theory. What if dildos already did to women what we think sex robots would do for men? I like that, man. That's true. What if hypergamy is actually being driven by dildos, raising the standard for sexual satisfaction? Well, I mean, it's arguably, I would say that works. There's the dildos here, but then there's the romantic novels over here, right? So both of those things together, the chick flicks and the romantic novels, and it combined with that, you know, and that's an odd thing too, man, because they'll say, you know, the nudie videos distorts a man's understanding of sex. And in some sense, I can say, yeah, I think it does. You know, like it gives you expectations that are from these, you know, actors doing this that's largely performative, and it's really for the camera and stuff like that. And women complain that men's standards have been kind of changed or made perverted or corrupted by that. But then on the other end, the same is true for women. I mean, if you're going to have a 8-inch, 10-inch, whatever the hell piece of plastic with batteries in it and God knows what else those things come with, and then you're going to read romantic novels about billionaires falling in love with the Starbucks barista and wanting to give his whole life to her, then yeah, arguably, you know, women maybe even more have had their expectations corrupted, you know? Even PUA Champ Mystery got divorced. Wow. Well, hell. I mean, yeah, I guess he should have gamed harder. Honestly, possible. Yeah. Chinese businesses have one big advantage. They don't have to care about morals. Yeah, that's true. That's true. My man, so many dead marriages are saved by those sex dolls these days. And even wifey agrees, since it's not real cheating with another woman for them. Yeah, I mean, listen, as far as, it's not like, you know, you're going to have a pregnancy outside of the marriage or something that'll divert resources of the household away. So there are definitely risks when you're dealing with, you know, real humans. Good evening. Hey, oikophobic misanthrope. Great to see you in here. Thanks for your comment earlier. Although there is no quantifiable data to substantiate that. This is why I don't know that getting married is a good idea. She mainly can do all this knowing divorce is costly to him. If all she can get is child support, it's less perilous for him. Yeah, I hear that, man. I mean, you know, if you're going to set up a household, I think people need to take seriously this idea of setting up a household. You know, this enterprise of marriage. Both people need to invest something material and substantive into it in order for that to make sense. If it's like, you know, his situation, he paid for everything. He did everything, paid all the bills, bought the house, and, you know, it led to this. So, and I mean, you know, maybe it was even worse. Maybe it was even worse too. But women are more aroused when their husbands try to use a sex doll or try to cheat on them. Also, I don't do the Minotaur thing in bed. Yeah. Oh, gosh.
To me for hours and hours at a time. No idea what the hell's going on. I don't know what I did wrong.
Thanks for reminding me. I forgot they were Minotaurs in that story. I didn't know what they were. I kept thinking like there were some kind of bulls or something. Minotaurs is what they were. Indian factories are also making these sex dolls. I purchased one highly expensive fleshlight and it was more fun than my exes combined. Oh no, that's a dangerous technology, man. This is dangerous. Matt Cross was right.
You know, being in my own home felt like some kind of a prison where I was constantly being tortured by the warden. And
yeah, there he said it. He was in prison. You remember earlier we were like, after 15 years, it must have felt like getting let out of prison. RPM did that. Not sure who that is. Red Pills. His Japanese wife became insufferable and divorced him, so he got a doll while they shared the home before she moved out. She fumed about it. Yeah, it would be like when a woman's mad that a guy's playing video games, except times 1,000. You know what I mean?
You know, as I look back on it in a prison where I was constantly being tortured by the warden. And you know, as I look back on it and as I talk to guys in the coaching sessions and we get into some of these details, it becomes really clear at just how screwed up women are in the way that they communicate with men when they're unhappy. They don't know how to communicate well. So when they tell us that they're emotionally intelligent, there is no truth to that at all. That is a complete lie. That is a fabrication of the feminine, I don't know, world. It just is not true in any way at all.
Man, I love these shots.
So there are three basic types of emasculation that occur most frequently in romantic relationships. The first one I talked about a little bit already, and that's when a woman is withholding affection, withholding intimacy, withholding approval. She's holding back something that you, as a man, need in a relationship. This is the fuel.
And it's also something that he's been freely giving her, right? You know, he's in love. He's doing everything he can to try to get her approval. So he's doling it out in big doses. I mean, this is what the simpery is, right? It becomes Kafkaesque for men, and testosterone also decreases when a man starts living with his wife as compared to a single man. That's interesting. Imagine the fury of a wife when you sit on the couch with the beer in one hand and your sex doll in the other. Yeah, that's going to become a possibility as these things start to hit the market, I guess. Dogs are the best. Yeah, dogs really are.
That men live off of when we're in a committed relationship. Like I said earlier, men love women. And
yeah, I mean, I feel like relying on toys shifts your mindset, sort of warps your perspective a bit. Personally, I'm with Sean. Nothing beats the real thing. The real experience is unmatched. It's a messy topic. Yeah, I mean, listen, I think most of us guys are going to agree with that. I don't know, man. Maybe Gen Z, I don't know, maybe Gen Z or these younger guys will look at it different. You never know. I guess it all depends on the product, but it's just hard for me to imagine, you know?
when we get into a relationship with a woman, we are all in. We are committed 100%. We want this relationship to work more than anyone. And we're
Coach Greg Adams, men are in love, women are in business.
willing to do whatever it takes to make this relationship work. But we can't do that without some fuel. And that fuel that we live off of is attention, it's appreciation, it's kindness, it's respect, it's affection and intimacy.
Respect is a big one.
This is the stuff that makes men putty in the hands of women. If you give a man those kinds of behaviors, if you treat him with that kind of respect and affection and approval and all that stuff, man, guys are like dogs. They will just walk, they'll just do anything you want, you know? It's like you're giving them treats. They'll do anything that you want. But
I mean, essentially what he's describing is somebody who has given in to the drugs, the highs of it all. And this is where romantic love is really something that I think you can even argue is maladaptive. It's like refined sugar versus like sugar in the form of a fruit or something like that, right? It's exploiting something that's biological to a very high degree because we live in a civilization, so that's able to happen. It's like a very refined form of what's otherwise necessary for, biological reproduction. And I think what he's describing is men that are like that are basically love drunk, right? Like you're living in an illusion or something. You're not in your senses fully. That's actually not a good thing, and that's where Red Pill, calls out the one-itis and stuff. It's obviously complicated whether it's a lack of attraction or just social awkwardness. There are usually deeper reasons why someone goes down that path. Yeah, and like this idea of like men are dogs, I don't like that idea. You know what I mean? Because I think it's just another way of kind of, and I don't think he means it like that in a way. It's obviously a stereotype. You know what I'm saying? But that like men are easily controlled, or, it just sounds. I don't like the sound of that. Comes off weird.
withhold that, you really rip out his heart. There's no other way to put it. I mean, you just tear out his heart. It's like,
so all you wanted was sex? See, that's what they're gonna hit you with.
It's a pain that's really hard to describe because it's so profound. And it's like something that's so deep inside you. It's like a feeling you've never really had. And you just feel this sinking inside you, like this emptiness opening up within you. And you think, I don't know how to respond to that. You know, it's like you just don't even have an answer for what do you say in that moment, you know, when...
Well, you don't, because you're being put on trial. At best, I'd say you can pull back. If you argue with them and you're just going to kind of get deeper mired into the mud, you know, and this is where a lot of people just this is where the dread game stuff comes in, and, you know, you start kind of just doing your own thing for a bit and just ignoring the stuff and passing the shit test, so to speak. There's a lot of discussion about that, you know, in Red Pill. But the real thing comes with a lot of potential. Landmines, very much so, man. And you know what, man? The longer you're out there spinning plate after plate, like something's gonna happen. Something's gonna happen, man. And I don't mean that like as saying I want bad things to happen. I don't, but it's just like the longer you're out there living life in the fast lane on a motorcycle, the higher the probability of stepping in a landmine becomes. As Sean and others have talked about for a long time, as someone who is divorced with a kid, 50-50 custody, I have to protect myself. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, and that's the thing, you know, is that kind of stuff ever going to be as good as a real woman? Probably not. But is it good enough to help you avoid that? Yeah, probably for a lot of guys, indulging in those means is probably enough for them to get by, I guess, you know. I think on some level, you know, people do want, obviously, intimacy on an emotional level, right? So, you know, but but, you know, can you get along with it? Probably for a good while, you know. A sandwich goes a long way to getting a woman in a man's heart, ladies. Say it loud, say it proud. Sandwich does sound pretty good. One thing I'll be down for is Westworld style. You literally can't tell the difference. Androids. Yeah, man, that was a good movie. Yeah, or like Blade Runner, those replicants. That's crazy to think about, man. A false allegation or pregnancy would really mess up not only my life, but my kids. Yeah, that's legitimate. And, you know, when I see guys like you, I feel like you guys, you know, you've already tried this once, you've lived it, you have a child. I kind of see guys that are kind of like the other side of that. I think it's maybe makes a little bit more sense or a little easier for them to take this route. Guys who don't have that and want that, they're still trying to, you know, they're thinking about this and maybe want to try having a family or something. But I think a lot of guys that have been on the other side of that, they, you know, then they're just like, well, you know, I have my kids and so be it. I don't want to get mixed up in that again. But, you know, obviously, I don't want to speak for everybody on that. It just seems that way. You only want one thing and it's filthy and disgusting, so go wash it. That's a good one, dude. That was fantastic. Exactly. Well, go clean it then.
He says we're not going to have sex anymore. What do you even say?
Yeah, what do you say to that? Like that, see, when that happens, it's pretty much like, oh, like the relationship is dead. But it's like if you say that, then what they're going to try to get you is like, so all you used me for is sex the whole time. So that's it, huh? But yeah, I mean,
you know, it's very hard to have an answer because it's not anything that any of us ever even imagined as we were getting into the relationship. The next thing, the second one, is criticism.
I think it's tough for a religious guy too, especially. But even if you're not religious, if you're the sole provider, it sucks. You know, if it's like a relationship or something you can walk away from, the minute that dries up, it's like, oh, well, I guess we're not monogamous anymore. And, you know, on a long, you'll probably just end up breaking up and finding somebody else or whatever. Some guys in even relationships and not marriages might spend a lot longer time, or they'll do their best to try to fix it, I guess, but that's hard to do, and I don't even know if it's possible. Been married, no kids though. Not sure I'm bothered though. Life is hella good. If it happens, great. Man, I love that mindset. That's basically mine too at this point. You know, if I see a deal or something that like makes sense and I think I could do it, then I would try. But like I would be like, you know, okay, maybe this is it. But if not, it's okay, you know. So And the older I get too, sometimes I think, I don't even know if I have the disposition for this anymore, but you never know, maybe. So yeah, that's a great mindset there, Don DeMarco. I like that. Tom Likas used to say it back in the early 2000s and late 90s, that those men who are concerned about their legacy, aka children, are quite arrogant and boast about having children as an accomplishment. Yeah, I think it's similar to something Mike Tyson said recently. We watched a short with Mike Tyson, and he made like a similar comment. I think there is a level of egotism to it, for sure. Right, so why get married? When this comes up, just say, oh, okay, I'll go hook up elsewhere. Yeah, all right, cool. Exactly, why get married? Yeah. See, this is where this is so important.
Your dowry, it's my right.
When a woman is
That's where the gold pill conversation comes.
continuously being critical of a man's behavior or his the way he's performing his role as a father or as a husband, the way he's not providing or protecting well enough in some way, shape, or form, that tears at a man just the same way. Because a man really wants to identify himself in a powerful way with the masculine archetype of a father, of a husband. We want to fill that role that we have in our minds. We always compare to our own fathers, and we always think, I'm going to be better than that, or I'm going to be as good as him. Whatever it may be, we have this idea in our head, and it's impossible for us to escape it.
Yeah, and I wonder if the idea is his, like masculinity is a good thing, but sounds like he's kind of letting her dictate what that masculinity is. What's one of those masculine role models like his father that he was talking about? Would his father have said that stuff about him? If his wife says it, that's one thing, but would his father have said that to him? And shouldn't his masculine sort of role model's opinion on the matter probably be worth more than his wife, who probably doesn't really understand masculinity other than how it would only benefit her?
And when we are told by the woman that we've committed ourselves to, and the one that we love more than anything in the world, that we're not living up to that, man, that really rips our hearts out again. Again, it's that same sinking feeling. And then the final one is when women start treating men like children, when they start talking over him, when they start limiting his
That's it. Yeah, that's the disrespect. That's the disrespect.
Ability to get free time. Like, he just needs to get out of the house, and you stand in front of the door to block him, to not let him go out. When you're egging him on, when you're pushing him to take a physical reaction to you.
Yeah, they're trying to get the DV. They're trying to get the TRO going after that.
Your behaviors. And really what you're doing is as a woman, is you're showing, you're showing that you have all the power, because now at a physical level, you are the parent and he is the child. You're in control and he is not. So you have taken all of his masculinity at this point. You have confronted him in a physical way and he does nothing, because you realize that you have control over him. Because he...
Yeah, I just keep hearing it's just like taking the masculinity away. It's just like a series of failed shit tests,
knows that if he takes any kind of physical action against you, he will be the one that is, in jail. He's the one
it's crazy. This guy
that pays the price.
This guy bought the house, paid all the bills, came home from work, helped out with the kids, and it just got worse and worse and worse from there.
And you're just almost egging him on. You're almost pushing him to take that next step, to slap you, to push you, to do anything.
Fang says his perspective of masculinity is still gynocentric, where he has to be at the helm of affairs for merely protection and provision. Yeah, I think that's a great way to put it. It's still gynocentric. So it's like pushing past that, then it frees you from that narrative that a gynocentric society has sold you about masculinity. More so masculinity as utility for others, right?
I mean, you're just creating the circumstances for it to happen. And if it doesn't happen, you win, because now you're showing that you're dominant. And if it does happen, you win, because now you've got the police and the law on your side, and you can...
The big brother state. This is the forced wealth transfer.
Take whatever actions you want against him. It is a lose-lose situation for a man.
Oh man, look at the droney. Heck yeah. It's time
So
to
now that we've
summon
described
in.
these behaviors, why do women do this? Frequently, it's the old hurt people dynamic, where women who have
You know, I feel like this is the part usually where the Evo site comes in, at least for the red pill discussions. And it's like, well, it's in a woman's nature to do that. And it's kind of removed away from women having any agency in this. You know what I mean? In some ways. Maybe I'm describing that incorrectly. But let's see what he's got to say.
been abused or traumatized at some
Like,
point in
oh,
their
you should have held frame better. You know, it's always the man's fault. He should have led better or something. But so that's interesting. He's talking about trauma.
life, they have been abused or traumatized at some point in their life, they become the abuser. My ex-wife had an alcoholic father and a mother who nagged him and emasculated him constantly. Her two older sisters were both pregnant as teenagers. One of them was a drug addict and she died, I don't know, like 10 years ago in her 40s from complications of hepatitis as a result of being an intravenous drug user.
Oh,
The
wow.
other one, although she had a successful career in the insurance industry, became a chronic alcoholic and she died from cirrhosis of the liver. She also has a teenage bride.
Teenage.
Clearly, I missed some red flags.
Yeah, I don't know, man. You know, if someone brings up trauma, like in a relationship, I feel like that, like, I don't know, me personally, I don't have much like sympathy or tolerance for it, because it's like everybody has their trauma. You know what I mean? And it's like, that's something you got to deal with. And if it's going to come in here and affect this, then this ain't going to work, you know? So it's like pushing back on them or not. I don't want to hear. That's not, you know, you're not going to take that out on me. That forces them to deal with their own trauma. So do whatever you got to do to deal with that. But, you know, I'm not here to.
Shut your bitch ass up!
You know what I mean? It's just your trauma. Like, I don't care. You know, I don't want to hear the story. Keep that to yourself, you know? I couldn't take a walk around town without coming home to an interrogation. And even an "are you cheating on me?" put up with it for years. Yeah, see that sounds annoying as hell. My trauma. It's like I'm not, you know, one of the things that I've always, I think, did a decent job of, I guess more recently, is just not complaining about my problems or feelings to women. It just felt like such a waste of time, you know? And they're not going to be able to help you with that. Really, no one is but you. So when they come to me with that, it's just like, yeah, no, you know, well, you're going to have to go. I guess you need to go home and get in a boxing match with your parents to fix this, because so, you know, you might need to work on that.
You know, when I met her sisters, I should have thought, that's really interesting that my bride doesn't have any of these problems. She's very pretty and pulled together, and she seems to have all seems to be just fine. But her two sisters, who were quite a bit older than her, I think my wife was about 8 years younger than the youngest sister she had. So they were 8 and 10 years older than her. But they were completely effed up. Like, these women were not right at all in any way, shape, or form.
God, that's just so many people. But, you know, from our perspective, a lot of us are, you know, it's just, we experience that with women, you know what I mean? And it's just like, damn, so many women, you know, you meet out there, you let them talk for long enough, you will be surprised. You know, you will be like, oh, damn, that's crazy. That's crazy. And then you're just like, all right, you know.
But being in that environment with this alcoholic father who was out to all hours of the night drinking, he was not abusive to them, at least not that I had heard. I mean,
Sounds like he was just coping with an abusive wife. Decided to just drink it away.
well, I think he had been a little bit abusive to the older girls because
Oh, hold on. Okay.
they were so rebellious and they were acting out. I think he may have hit them.
Oh, wow.
But he never hit my ex-wife. And then the constant emasculation that his wife performed on him. And here's the ironic thing, is he died right before I met her. And they all talk about how beautiful his death was and how they were all there in hospice around him as he died and how they all missed him. And
They all loved him. Like, even though he was abusive, they loved him, and he was an amazing man. And don't talk badly about my dad, even though I complain about him abusing me all the time. Only I have the right to talk bad about him. Oh gosh. But he had him like flies on, shit right around his finger. I'd like to see him with a different haircut. Cool guy nonetheless. Yeah, I think
loved him, and the funeral was just tearful, and we've all been to the grave, and everyone says such nice things about him. But you know something? That guy and his wife together created an environment in that home that resulted in 3 women who went out into the world and caused enormous amounts of destruction in their lives and in the lives of the people that they touched. Now, they weren't just all terrible. I'm not going to say that at all. They all did some nice things. They had some nice families, but all of their lives fell apart, either divorced or single mothers, the whole...
Well, that combined with no-fault divorce, it's a recipe. What's happening, people? Hey, Orem, shout out to you, man. Good to see you. Happy New Year, sir.
Whole 9 yards, drinking, drugs, they were... abjectly, they suffered a lot, and the people in their lives suffered a lot. So trauma from childhood, I think, plays a significant difference, a significant role. The second one is you do get women who have personality disorders. We've talked about cluster
bipolar
B and that sort of thing, and there's psychopathy, and there's lots of other issues associated with women using emotional and psychological torture on their husbands.
See, the other side of the psychological torture is how good that woman blows up your ego and makes you feel like you're on top of the world. Like, when I hear this, I just know how the guy got trapped into it. The guy got trapped into it because women like that are so good, like dating a narcissist, basically. When they focus, they're so selfish, but when you're their object of their affections and they focus all that on you and make you feel like you're the greatest person on the world, then the bait and switch happens and they just trash you down, and then you're kind of, stuck on them like a drug addict or something like that. So, yes, they did all these things, but in the beginning, they really sucked you in with a sweet sugar, you know what I mean? That's like unnatural.
And they do it intentionally. I think that most women are the traumatized version, and they don't realize how evil their behavior is. I don't think they understand
how narcissistic they become,
how vile they're being, and how repugnant their behavior is.
Yeah, that's what it's called, man. Love bombing. The whole love bombing thing. Yeah, that's a real phenomena, and anybody that, and that's part of how they're able to kind of make you dependent on their approval. You know what I mean? And you sort of cede your masculinity to them, and then they can tell you what it means to be a man or not, is because you got hooked in so badly by the love bombing, and it sucks, and that's part of the one-itis too, and it sucks. You got to go through the heartbreak, but eventually you heal from it. But a lot of people, when they're stuck in that, they can't imagine that they'll ever be happy again, like on a normal baseline level, because they got so wrapped into this. Bait and switch, locked in via marriage contract. Yeah, so it's like you can't, you have to be able to recognize when that's happening. And so when someone's love bombing you, you have to understand, or try to figure out how to how to shield against that a little bit, and not let that, take advantage of you.
Because I think if they were aware of it, they would at least try to withhold. They would at least try to find a different path, or they would apologize when they became aware of it. The irony here is I don't think most men are even aware of it. Hell, I wasn't aware of what the hell it was. I just knew I had this sinking feeling inside me that made me feel like I was less of a man, And yeah, so I think there's lots of guys out there that are suffering in these sorts of relationships where they're being emasculated day in and day out by women who have no idea what's going on. And then there's those handful that got lucky and they married one of the real nut jobs, and they're with a psychopath or a a narcissist or someone who's got these cluster B personality disorders. And, you know, God help you if you're in one of those.
Gosh, marrying one of those. Gosh, yeah.
She's going to continue that, you know, and there's probably no way for you to.
And for the rest of your life, you're stuck dealing with that. Even if you get divorced too. Gosh.
Get clear of it.
I swear, with those people, the best deal is to just make them feel like they won. And then they just kind of move on to their next target feeling like they won. And you're just like, okay, hell yeah. I got out of here. I got out of here pretty easy. You know what I mean? With the slap on the wrist, basically. It's pretty terrible.
Without divorcing her. I mean, that's probably the only thing that you can do. For men in a relationship where emasculation is being employed by his wife, by his partner, by his loved one, as a means of controlling him, which is what it is, and taking his power from him, basically how it unfolds is it's a death by 1,000 cuts. It's not like one comment.
Yeah, it's like Joe Rogan's marbles, pile of marble metaphor right there. Just one marble away at a time. Some with mental issues literally see a different reality. 2 + 2 = 7 type stuff. I was married to one. Gosh, man. Well, I'm glad you made it out of there, man. Shout out to you. That sounds really tough, man. You know, and I think that's something where it's like, it's hard to see early on, and then you find that out kind of deep in, and then all of a sudden you're just like, oh my God, who is this person? It's so crazy how that works.
So one thing completely destroys him. It's just day after day after day living in an environment of toxicity where it's like the goldfish in the bowl that water never gets changed, you know, and it just gets more and more toxic. You know, he married a woman that he thought was Superwoman, but now he becomes like Clark Kent's nerdy alter ego, where he's getting pushed around all the time. And she's this untouchable force for evil, if you will, who just is pushing him around all the time, like the bully in school, where you can't even punch back.
That's really what it is. It's a bully, truly.
Because if you do, then you're the bad guy. So the guy's going to withdraw. You know, that's all that happens. He's got to go into the man cave. He's going to try to find some place to work. He's going to be
You try your best, but they'll probably find you in there.
in the garage all the time. He doesn't want to be around her. He doesn't want to be around the family. He's not going to go on trips anymore. He's happy when she leaves. You know?
Gaslighting is done on purpose to make you distrust your own reality. What is this podcast? This is a channel called John Griffin. I'll share the link in the chat. YouTube is so weird about links, but hopefully this is okay. Maybe YouTube links are good. Yeah, he's got a chill channel.
You know, it creates a divide within the family, which is, of course, an enormous cause for women then to victimize themselves and say, well, he's never with us. He's not engaged with the family. So when they go to therapy, she can go and tell the therapist about how he spends all his time doing something else. He's never...
The therapy. Yeah, Murderer Crow's got it right. He just said it. No checks are available. Yo, base FCZ. Man, I can't... Unfortunately, I can't bring up the... Oh, let me try it again. My little program that I use to bring up the chats on the screen kind of crapped out on me. But we're not giving up out here. We're not giving up. We're not giving up. Okay. I'm gonna try to reload it. Gonna try to reload it. I'm just so stubborn. I just refuse to use StreamYard, and I just have to do everything like it's a garage band. You know what I mean? There we go, base FCZ. Indeed, hurting people you know won't fight back is just the clearest form of abuse. But as men, we don't see it because it's not physical. Very true. Very true. But a woman treating you like garbage because you will take it is abuse. And people, when further hurt men by calling them weak, yeah, then your masculinity comes into question. You know, well, you know, you just got to man up and take it. You know, you just got to take it on the chin, be a man. And then if you don't, so on the one sense, if it's abuse and then you say something, gynocentrism and, kind of the culture we live in makes it real hard to do that. Shout out to you, Base. Let's see. And thanks for that shout out in your episode, man. That was great. I had a good time watching that, man. I'd rather someone kick my ass than gaslight me for years. Yeah. Yeah, just give me like one, good beating or something. And, I'll feel like crap probably for a few weeks, but at least it won't be years of mental torture. The problem is men often have no recourse, or the way to fight back is extremely costly. Divorce and not seeing your kids. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, you can pull the ripcord, but you're going to have to deal with all that stuff. It's kind of like being held hostage, and the kids are in the middle of it and all that, which just really sucks. And that's just sort of the end result of being the one that contributes most of the material goods to the relationship. Kind of like this guy did, so yeah.
With us, he never wants to be around, and the poor guy is like, yeah, well, she's really a bitch. Like, what does he say? She's really mean to me. It just doesn't come off very believable coming out of a man's mouth in front of a professional. And not only that, but we men have a really tough time putting this all together in a coherent narrative as to what's actually happening. Like, why am I feeling this way? What's actually happening? I'm being bullied by this tiny little woman.
That was one thing that I put together pretty early on. Like, I realized that sort of the battlefield of love was very similar to bullying from other guys or that kind of stuff, because ultimately you are unable to express yourself and who you are in a way that you don't feel pressured not to. And bullies stop you from being able to live out yourself and express yourself in the world, because they're going to come and criticize something that you're doing or try to beat you up. So it's the same kind of bullying. And I even look at like having a big crush on somebody as a kind of form of bullying, because you want to look good in front of them or something. Like, when you're a teenager or something and you're nervous around that girl, that's a form of, not that she's actively doing it, but it's like, it's almost like a self-bullying or some kind of result of that. And you have to try to break out of that, otherwise you're limiting, who you are and what you're just not being honest with yourself, which, is a shame. Rather get your ass light than be gaslight. Not my best rhyme. I wonder if he'll say how the deck is stacked against men in marriage counseling. He did mention therapy, but he didn't mention that it was biased, but let's see.
And I could literally knock her head off, but I can't because she's a woman. And now I'm the bad guy because I'm getting bullied all the time, and she's the victim because I don't want to be around her anymore. Do you know what I mean? It's like you lose. It's just, there's just no way through it. There's just no way through it. Once that emasculation starts.
Red pillars will talk about the shit test, right? Like that's why the beginning question that I put in the poll is emasculation another form of a shit test, or is it a shit test, basically? And that's the red pill promise. The tough part, I would say, is when you're over leveraged in a situation, which is even why they would say married red pill is the hardest one, because you have a lot to lose and you can't just next or walk out of there and, all that stuff. Red pill experts will claim, though, that, you can navigate that. But I don't know, sometimes I see that as like, you still have to end up doing all this stuff in order to fix that. And I don't know, they just have so much ability to screw you over in that situation. But, just to give the red pill some credit there. I think emasculation is just the result of female narcissism. Okay, yeah, that's an interesting way to put it. You can say that. And you kind of feed into their narcissism by pedestalizing them. So after a while, it's just they take it for granted. I've seen this repeatedly over the 15 years of watching my friend and his wife of 20 years. Okay. It's shocking how brazen someone so dull-witted and physically useless can be in their bullying tactics. Yeah, well, you know, that's the giving someone a lot of power over you. You wasn't holding frame. You wasn't hitting it right. CGA. Tradcons will say you just have to pray hard enough. Yeah, there you go. That's another, you know, solution, suggestion.
You are condemned to a life of misery. There's just no way around it.
The 360 drone shot.
So, if you're in a relationship right now and you're getting this kind of feedback, you're getting emasculated, your wife is withholding, she's criticizing, she's dominating.
All right, here we go. What you can do.
She's being a complete bitch. First thing you need to assume is that she has some hidden trauma. And you need to get her, not just to a therapist, but maybe to a full-on psychologist where they need to do the full hypnotic regression and find out what the hell happened in her childhood that's causing her to act this way. Because this kind of behavior is...
Hopefully you can get her on board to want to faithfully, you know, work with those practitioners in order to try to do that. If she just refuses to listen and do that, it's
a mental illness, and it's not being well diagnosed by professionals, at least.
See, I feel like this is going to diverge from what the red pillars will say. The red pillar is going to be like, you need to apply dread game, competition anxiety. You need to pass the shit test. You know what I'm saying? Agree and amplify. Ignore.
Not
deflect.
up until now. Maybe now we'll start to see some
pressure flip. You got to do the pressure flip. You know what I'm saying?
You know, some at least awareness for this behavior. You need to talk to her, and you need to talk to her about what emasculation is and what it means to you and how it makes you feel at a very deep level. You got to you got to open up and say, in a quiet time, away from the event, you got to go back and revisit this situation.
Part of this still kind of, listen, I mean, I don't think this is horrible. Maybe it's worth a shot, you know, but it kind of feels like it's still a little bit of wanting to be her hero. And solve the problem for her, to help her, kind of like slaying the dragon for her. But, you know, really she needs to work on that on herself and not, you know, throw that on you. Now he's in a life of quiet desperation bit. You've got no negotiating power at the moment. Doesn't matter whether she's nuts or not. Family law forces you into a disadvantage. Yeah, especially him too, being the sole provider. And it sounds like he really did everything, trying to watch the kids and do that when he got home from work, and it just made it worse. Psychologists today will only support her behavior, being a strong and independent woman. Yeah, that's the thing. Hopefully it's, I mean, you know, I don't know how many therapists are out there that are really going to get that deep and look into this from a Jungian psychoanalytic approach. Sounds like what'll probably happen is they'll be like, are you depressed? And, you know, she'll probably end up on some kind of medication for a while. And I don't know. I can appreciate what he's saying to some extent, you know. I don't, you know, like, I guess part of me is just like blaming it on trauma kind of gives her an excuse to be out of it. Like, I'd like to think this guy, like most humans, have some kind of trauma that he managed to not take out, you know, on his wife. To some extent, you know, especially when it comes to like romantic love and this kind of thing, like there is such a thing as a trauma bond. And maybe the reason he was so attracted to this woman was because of that. So maybe he had something from back then too, but was he taking it out on her? Or is it only, you know, her taking it out on him? Oh no, simp solution. She's not traumatized. She's checked out. See, yeah, I think you're being the most realistic here, Don DeMarco. I really think so. My buddy's wife is 54. There's a better chance of me accepting an invitation to a sleepover at Lorena Bobbitt's house than her voluntarily going to a shrink to treat her mental illness. Just leave. Yeah, I mean, first they'd have to accept that they have a problem. Yeah, if you can, just leave. But they're awfully good at making it expensive for you to get away, for sure. The education of psychologists is highly gynocentric nowadays. Yeah, I mean, I think he's trying to find something that's real world here. I think red pillars kind of look at that and they're just like, no, that's not going to work, you know. And they would go the other direction, which is pulling away and doing a kind of different type of covert communication until she starts to, you know, change her behavior, you know, as best they can. Lorena Bobbitt. The moral of the story, don't get married. Yeah. God, I know. All this explaining, man. This is not helping to sell it. I'll definitely tell you that.
And open up and say, honey, you can't talk to me like that ever again. And here's why. Because when you do that, you are taking my...
You know, you don't even have to give it. You can just say, don't speak to me like that ever again. And, you know, she might still crap out at you, and then you just get up and take your keys, and you just go somewhere without saying where. It'd probably be to a spot like this, honestly, where he's at right now. I'd probably just go to my buddy's house or something, and then maybe we'd order a pizza, possibly, and play retro games or something. I'd probably just sleep over, you know, at some family member. I'd be like, you know, and then just leave them to stew in that. Don't give them, this is too much of an explanation right here.
My role away from me as a provider and a protector in this household.
See, like, that's explaining way too much. That's, you know.
If you have criticism of something that I'm doing or the way that I'm doing it, I need you to express it to me like I'm an adult, like I'm someone that you care about, someone that you love. And if you're unhappy with me for something that I have done or said, then we need to have a conversation about it like adults.
See, I think one thing that the red pill really helped guys understand was covert communication. And what he's doing now, this is overt communication. And I think a lot of guys in his position have tried that or have done some kind of overt communication, but it just doesn't work. You know what I mean? It's not worth it to argue in that way, at least when you're this far into it. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. I can't get too on something about this. I think it's missing something. I'd like to hear your guys' opinion on that. She jump-started her ex's prawn career. He should give her credit. I'm not sure what. Unless you get a prenup that states she'll be shot off in a rocket to Mars upon divorce. Vote with your feet, man. That's all you can do, you know. And yeah, she might leave, but you know, this kind of, I don't know. I don't think this would work. Once there was this guy who made his wife real mad, and she chopped off his. Yeah, that probably has happened. Withdraw attention. That's the only leverage you really have. Yeah, that's all you can do. And that, you know, that was a thing, because a lot of guys in that dead bedroom situation, they would try this kind of stuff like, okay, let's talk about our relationship and see how we can do this. But it all comes off as negotiating attraction, which is, you know, a Rolloism there. So it's not going to, he's trying to rationally fix this emotional, irrational situation. And unfortunately, like, I don't think that's going to work. Yeah, pizza and retro games. Yeah, oh man, I know pizza sounds good right now. Pizza sounds really good. Now I'm going to respond with F off from now on. Done with trying to explain stuff to people. Yeah. I mean, for him, you know, it's like he was so deep in the pit. You know, he paid for the house, all this stuff. And he probably wishes, like, this is his version of putting his foot down, which, you know, I can see kind of where he's coming from with that. But sitting there and negotiating it with it, and if I did something wrong and leaving all these openings, I think isn't the play. It's really just walking off for a bit and then letting her think about it. And, you know, it'll change her tune or behavior, or the whole thing will just go bust, but then so be it. If it was just going to go bust over that anyways, you know, I mean.
You can't withhold affection from me. You can't just, from that point forward, walk around here.
If he keeps giving and giving and giving, then she can withhold freely without worrying about whatever he's giving not being taken away.
like some kind of a spoiled brat and not talk to me like you're a teenage girl who's, not getting her way, because that just is not going to work. And if it continues.
See, it also feels like he's describing like a shit test. You know what I mean? And when a woman, at least from what I remember from red pill stuff, it's like if you're confronted with that, taking it like literally and having a literal conversation about it kind of doesn't work. You know what I mean? That's why they had things like agree and amplify, or pressure flip, or, deflect, or whatever the hell it was, or just outright ignore it. He is overtly trying to come back, and have that conversation. But, I would say red pillars would not agree with that. We've come full circle back to having your sex robot in one hand and the beer and the other while you watch TV. Yeah, ignore it. And then just do that. Artificial competition anxiety with an artificial robot or women. I've seen men withhold sex from women, and the women are absolutely miserable and on the verge of cheating. Yeah, a man can withhold sex from a woman, and affection and all those things. That's true, because sex is a shared activity. Yeah, I think really the fear is being alone, because would much rather the scraps or pain than having to lose everything you invested in emotionally and physically. Yeah, and that's where his situation is the toughest, and where I don't like to be too hard on these guys, because these guys are in a tough position because they have invested everything. And I know emotionally and physically, you've mentioned both of those, but especially financially, which physical, you can say. So it's just like, oh my God, like this is hanging on a thread. Am I going to lose, everything? So it gets really tough. It's easier to say just walk away than it really is, but unfortunately for him, it's like he's just been, he was feeding in and it just made it worse. We need a Dontavius version of this. Oh yeah, how come we haven't hit Dontavius?
You gotta stay gaming, bro. Don't focus on no girl. Just stay gaming.
You can't withhold affection from me. You going to take back the part about being realistic, Shaw? I'm sorry. I'm missing exactly what you mean. You can't withhold affection from me. You mean like, oh, if you try to do that and she says that to you, you mean? You can't fix a broken cup even when you use super glue. It still will never be the same. You can't fix an unfixable relationship. That's a tough part, man, especially for like, religious people and stuff. That's the hard part. But, I don't doubt what you're saying there, especially if the other person does not want to help fix it. Like there's not much you can do, at that point you can try the red pill stuff, dread game, competition anxiety, all that kind of. Yeah, I think, I read that. Oh, okay.
Then I can't stay in this marriage anymore. Like I can't be with you anymore.
There it is. Okay, good. Okay, yeah. See this part, he's being real.
Have to separate. We're going to have to find another path forward separately. But
he still needs to go out though and hang out with his buddies and then stay the night at his buddy's place and then just not answer her phone calls for the whole night, even if she blows up the phone. And he needs to play Turtles in Time on Super Nintendo with his homie. Yeah. See, that's the best thing you can do.
You can't continue to stay there. Because what ends up happening to guys who stay in these kinds of relationships,
okay, now I'm with it. I'm with it now.
Moves such a huge part of your personality and who you are as a man. It literally tears away at your soul, and it makes it really hard for you to ever trust another woman, ever. And like I said earlier, the number of men who come out of a divorce and take their own life very quickly after they've separated is very, very high. The rate of men taking their own lives is, the number of men who take their own lives is greater than the number of women who die from breast cancer every year. Think about that for a second. Think about all the attention that we give breast cancer in the press, in the media, on the NFL. They have their pink laces and all that crap, and we're all, breast cancer awareness.
It's a good point.
Awareness Month and all that stuff.
Gynocentrism.
Is there any awareness month for men who have been abused by traumatized and mentally ill women in relationships that they've committed themselves to. At the beginning of this, I told you that men love women. We're single-minded when we get into relationships. We want them to work. We do not want a divorce. No man gets into a marriage thinking, yeah, if this doesn't work right away, then I'm gonna bail. They want to stay in it no matter what. I've talked to
Especially because they've invested most of the stuff into it.
so many men who are in such difficult situations that I've told them they need to get out. Like, you just can't stay there anymore. You are risking your freedom because eventually she's going to crack and she's going to call the cops and she's going to tell them some kind of a stupid crack-ass story.
Oh man, this guy has been through it all,
And
hasn't
you're going to
he?
be bent over a police car, having your rights read to you
Yeah.
for something that you didn't even do.
And it's going to be a Saturday, and then you're going to be stuck in there till Monday.
Because that's the way it frequently works out.
God forbid.
Women are the victims and men are the perpetrators. That's the way it looks on the surface. But behind the curtain, when you pull it back just a tiny little bit.
Oh,
you
the
see
branch
that
hit it. This thing does a pretty good job for flying backwards.
looks on the surface. But behind the curtain, when you pull it back just a tiny little
See
bit,
that? And it
you
didn't
see
fall.
that is not necessarily always the case. And frequently, I would say more than 50% of the time, the reason why a marriage fails is because a woman resorts to emasculation of her husband on a continuous basis until that marriage just can't bear the weight of his pain anymore, and then it ends. Anyway, you guys, like I said, if you're in a relationship with a woman who's doing this to you, you need to get her in front of a psychologist. You need to have conversations with her. You cannot allow this to continue. You've got to stand up for yourself. The only way it stops
That part I agree with, standing up for yourself.
is if you stand up for yourself.
There you go. Shout out to him, man.
And if it's gone past that point where standing up for yourself probably is not an option and she's unwilling to go get help from a therapist or a psychologist, then you just got to leave. You just got to pick your moment and get out of there, because the longer you stay, the worse it's going to get.
Oh, man. Shout out to him, man. I like his videos. The only way to win is not to play. You can't lose if you don't play. Men have to say no in large numbers. Yeah, shout out to MGTOW. Hey, shout out to Raymond Thoughts and Mine over here. This channel is very important for men's health and education. Men like and spread this channel for the greater good. Anyone in love wants intimacy. Anyone withholding it no longer loves you. From a previous marriage, I remember that sickening feeling I got when I turned into the driveway but didn't want to go inside. Gosh, that sucks, huh? Like you're coming home from work and you don't want to go in your own house. Sometimes I would drive around the subdivision or stop for a soda to avoid going back. Fortunately, I survived that relationship and went on to have a marriage that was positive, loving, and faithful. She is deceased now, so I am on my own again. I see no reason to take the risks associated with remarriage. I am at home in my own skin and in my own house. How sweet it is. Well, that sounds unfortunate about the second wife passing away, but, I'm glad he's doing better now. Not all heroes wear capes. Sometimes they have YouTube channels. If I get the smallest hint of emasculating from a woman, I don't even bother. I just ghost. That's the luxury of not being, materially invested with somebody. I'm single, 37, and rich. Pay to play is my solution in this environment. Okay, so he went to the JUCO and became a free agent. I came from nothing and worked hard to become the man that I am. I will never let anyone take my masculinity from me. See, the only thing that can get this guy to be monogamous is this.
Your dowry, it's my right.
You know what I mean? It's like, how do you convince this guy right here? Does anyone else not only see your own experiences reflected in John's comments, but also your dad's experiences? Gosh, yeah, well, a lot of the young people watch their, this kind of happen. Parents, uncles. When a woman disrespects a man, especially repeatedly, the relationship is over from the man's point of view. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of them don't want to accept that. But, maybe deep down they know that. Guys want real affection and unconditional love. Get a pet. Emasculation occurs when there is a loss of respect. Disrespect is at the root of contempt. Contempt is the end of the marriage because love is no longer possible or present. I've had a number of women try to emasculate me. In every case, I shut it down forcefully and immediately. None of those relationships lasted much longer after that, so it went bust. 62 in monk mode now. I am at peace. Man, shout out to him. I like hearing from the older folks, you know. Life looks better on the outside. 80K bi-weekly. All right, man, is this some sort of a bot comment? Nice clothes, good food, a beautiful home, and yet it still feels empty. Your videos bring me a sense of calm. 80K bi-weekly. Maybe, man. Maybe. When your wife said we're not having sex anymore, she was simply saying, I don't want you to divorce me because I don't have the guts to do it. Oh, I want you to divorce me because I don't have the guts to do it myself. Yeah, there you go. The majority of women behave in this way towards their man at some point. It's been over 22 years since I kicked mine out. Listening to this excellent video brings it all back. The effects are still felt. After several attempts with other women, I've settled into remaining single. Man, it's interesting just hearing from older people, you know, and when they come to that conclusion too, it's like, oh man, there is only one answer with aggressive women. Leave now. Yep. This episode will probably save someone's life. Thanks, John. This is so true. I never realized how bad it was until she was gone for a year. 27 years of hell, never again. Death by 1,000 cuts. Wow. Yeah, he was Stockholm syndromed. I went through all of this. Won't happen again. No matter what you do, it's never enough. That's all the marriages I see these days. Women have lost their minds. John, nice topic. Thanks. From the lessons of my failed marriage, I've come to realize that a good wife is someone who is genuinely happy with her own life. She values and appreciates every little thing around her. Without this trait, marriage will risk sliding into misery and divorce. When dissatisfaction takes root, it can manifest in destructive behaviors such as emasculation. These behaviors cannot be corrected by addressing the surface alone. The real solution lies in resolving the deeper cause of unhappiness. Gentlemen, if she is not happy with herself, nothing you do can change this. Yeah, see, that's true. Let her go and invest your energy in yourself. Your time is far too valuable to waste. I married once, won't again. Also, won't ever live with the woman. If my long-term girlfriend starts disrespecting me, I immediately tell her she needs to change her behavior. If she doesn't, I often cancel plans we had. Yeah, see, this is the way. I often cancel plans we had for the day together and tell her we can meet when she is ready to behave. There you go. Shout out to Jay over here, man. Hey, John, I remember that during my relationship, I worked for about 17 years, and my ex-wife didn't work at all. Okay, so this is like John in the video. And she was always upset, pissed maybe. You know, between female nature and the bipolar BPD behavior, it was hell on earth. I always wished, and I never dared to ask, that she could have just hugged me and said, I know it's difficult, but I believe in you. I trust you. You're going to succeed. I would have moved mountains. Instead, I got nagging, anger, and rages of all sorts. It was very destructive. And after 10 years of divorce, I'm still healing, so I don't think I'll enter into another long-term relationship. Yeah, see, and, you know, it's not helpful, like, to be like, you just weren't hitting it right. You should have held masculine frame or something like that. Women who do this can't be changed through rational discussion. Yes, there we go. See, this is very important. That part's important. That's what I think the red pill was good at, you know, covert communication. And they let what they would call her hamster do a lot of the work on her end until she, you know, changed her behavior. This one really hit hard. I had no idea, no concept. You have made something I endured that I could never explain. I thought I had gone crazy. Well, unfortunately, I eventually did. Yes, a lose-lose situation. I lost everything, but now I'm free. John, your ex-wife really gets on my nerves. John, thanks for analyzing, digging deeper, and explaining a very calm, thoughtful way. Oh, we have missed you. Emasculation is destructive in every context. Some of my female family members have tried to use it on me. When we were still in contact, that is. And what it boils down is taking cheap shots at stuff they know I can either do nothing about or they themselves perceive as weakness, even when nobody else does. Yeah, see, that's the thing. Like, men have a concept of like a below the belt shot. Like, you don't do that. You know what I mean? Women, there's no concept of this below the belt shot. So they just do that and they think that they're smart for doing that. But it's like, we can take below the belt shots. We just choose not to. You know what I mean? But when they do that, they think they like accomplished something or that they did something. Oh, they're so intelligent for doing that. It's like, no, you're just, you know, a scumbag. I've come to learn that emasculation is one of the many tools in their manipulation repertoire, designed and used strategically in order to make you do something more often than not. As a mom with all sons, this is spot on. It's hard to watch. The young women now are even aggressive with other family members. Well, shout out to all the moms with sons out there. I lived the same life, working at a stressful job and diving up on the driveway. You could feel the negative energy surrounding you. Every day my life got darker, and all I ever wanted was to be loved back. The blessing was when she divorced me and left our 2 children with me. Oh, okay, well, he got custody. She was gone with the wind, moved 5 hours away. Gosh, moved 5 hours away from your kids. Moved 5 hours away to make sure she was free of us, not knowing we were free of her. The sun came back to our house, and my boys and I are living happily. Well, I'm glad that you know, they're doing better. God, that must have been horrible. Divorced and single for 8 years and absolutely loving my new life. Divorce is tough and bloody expensive. Yeah. For the first 6 months. After that, a drama-free life awaits. Make the most of it. Well, you know, that's a good positive thing there. All right, see the comments. I know I said I'd close after 2 hours, but maybe we'll listen to that video from a male space. Not all of it, just that, you know, from 31 minutes on, where he talks about some of the stuff about Red Pill that he doesn't like. MGTOW monk mode for the win. Shout out W Juco. Shout out Avalanche. Basically, men have a sense of honor. Women don't really get it. Yeah, for the below the belt shots. Exactly. Women can't wrap their minds around that concept even. Rather, women don't typically grasp the concept of a point of no return. Yeah, and that's why they'll say like some really messed up stuff, you know, like, and this is typically why men don't emotionally open up to women, because they will throw it back in your face. Like if you guys get in an argument, they will throw it back in your face. You know, if you tell them like you were abused as a child, they will use that to get a cheap ass win over you in an argument, and you will not be able to believe that they threw that back in your face over nothing, over, you know, spilled milk. And we've seen numerous examples of that. You know what I mean? They will say some foul stuff. Titan struggle. Shout out Titan. Shout out to Shaw. Based on all these comments, men are in love and women are in business. Coach Greg Adams. Exactly. This is the video right here that a male space shared. It's pretty long, but he talks about some Red Pill contributions and lingo, and it says here that he also talks about some of its errors too that need to be understood. So you know, maybe we can listen to a little bit of that just as a little bonus here. And a male space said at 31:10 he questions spinning plates. I mean, we've talked about the Matador example, the motorcycle in the fast lane. So that's how I tend to look at it, you know. When you're dealing with real humans, you know, you can vet and do all that stuff, but it is a bit of a fast-paced game, you know. Most go from 0 straight to nuclear option. Yes, that is true, man. That is true. So let's just listen to a little bit of this. There's no visuals on this, so that's the only thing, but, you know, we'll start it at 30.
Over the man. That's why they have a monstrous advantage over the man. But you don't have to accept the existence of the primordial soup to see why.
Let's put it back 15 seconds and hear if he says what the advantage is.
Emotionally destroy our lesser man. Much of her actions are not subject to reason. They don't originate in the rational part of her nature and are not susceptible to rational analysis or justification. That's why they have a monstrous advantage over the man. But you don't have to accept the existence of the primordial soup to see why. This doesn't come from the evolutionary subconscious. It can very simply come from the desire to establish plausible deniability. or even to soothe her conscience. The red pill's biggest problem when it talks about intersexual communication today, they're trying to ground their theory in a vague, non-scientific concept of social evolution.
Evo psych.
Rather than, as it should be, rooted in the degenerate individualist society that has perverted all relationships. The postmodern Western world is unnatural. Its social customs are equally so. Hence, female behavior doesn't come from evolution, it comes from devolution. There's some tremendous insight into the red pill.
Okay, so that's interesting.
You ignore them at your peril. As I say, there's many questions that arise about the simplistic definitions and traits and types as far as it goes, but it's still quite useful.
We'll give it like a couple of minutes. Probably not the best reaction material.
The red pill says that their answer to female nature, quote unquote, is to spin plates.
Okay,
spinning
abundance
plates is an
mentality.
artless metaphor for having many women as options, but not committing to anyone. This acts as an insurance policy where if a man is dumped, he has a few others around to pick up the slack. Since he's not committed to any of them, there would be no emotional fallout if they were to break up.
Yeah, so no one-itis, abundance mentality, spinning plates. Okay, interesting.
It's really an awful way to think. But there's a few nagging questions. If you've come across some of this stuff, and you need to if you haven't, let me ask just a few questions that came to mind when I first came across this many years ago. Is it female nature that they're talking about? Or women in a dying, amoral society that puts a premium on appearance, money, and sex? Can anyone make reference to a female nature while solely using postmodern women as data? The rotation of women, this plate spinning nonsense, it seems to preclude love. And why is love never a variable in this school of thought? It is not. For a man to have sex with as many women as possible, it seems to be filling a psychological void. And why is that the main goal anyway? What kind of relationships are these?
Well, we've always talked about on this channel short-term, low-leveraged relationships, and the whole point of that is to avoid one-itis, or basically romantic love, or the Disney blue pill type of love, which would, I guess, in a way, help the guy avoid simping and ideally get what he wants from the woman, but he's right to question this because it doesn't solve this problem of human family reproduction, right? It's short-term hedonism, essentially. Even if you're spinning the same plates for 20 years, low leverage and short-term, I tend to equate those, But yeah, let's see what he says. It's an interesting discussion.
What would the world look like if everyone followed consistently this kind of strategy?
What would it look like? Bruh, he's cooking. Yeah, I'm glad you guys are enjoying it. I was afraid to listen to this one because there's not like visual stuff going on, but for reaction's sake. I don't know. Spinning plates would take up too much time and energy for me. For me, the exit is just go back to being single. Yeah, well, and again, you can, God forbid, accidentally step in a landmine too. So spinning plates isn't this like, you can have devastating consequences to where you might even wish you were married. I mean, maybe not in today's sense of the word married, but you know what I mean? Or in a long-term something, but yeah, and that's where this concept of alpha simp comes, right? Like, you are in a way kind of being the dancing monkey in order to keep all these people happy. And some people can make it seem like it doesn't take much effort, but it does take a lot of effort. In some ways. I mean, if you're going to be sitting here, having a rotation of women, that's a little bit of effort. Maybe you can really spread it out, but, man, I'm still tired. Typing is, oh, no worries, man. I'm tired today too, bro. I thought I was getting sick last night. So spinning plates is dumb, or on a long enough timeline, the rate of survival is 0. Exactly. Yeah. It's like you want to be the matador. The horns are coming eventually, the longer you stay in there.
Does society at all exist under these conditions? Kind of strategy. Could a society at all exist under these conditions? At what age does this become irrelevant? which, by the way, is a question that doesn't get asked very much either. Who has the time or the energy for this kind of
Hey, that's
spinning?
what Klaus just said. Who's got the time or the energy for that?
Money or anything else. And how can a relationship have anything less than 100% commitment?
I think the appeal of it is that there is a kind of resentment that is inculcated from men watching women exercise options. You know, so a man is an orbiter and the woman is dating a bunch of guys and sleeping around. Spinning plates doesn't help society, but all it does is maybe help get rid of some of that resentment for the guy side, in the sense of like, oh, look, now I'm doing the same thing too. So we're on an even playing field now, and therefore I don't have to feel like I'm lesser than. Like, I think that might be one of the motivations for it. Never relax, Jester Max. It really comes down to this. Improve yourself for yourself. For success, for health, for money, etc. Know yourself, your motives, values, morals, and character. Operate from that space. Don't yield. Yeah, that's the tough part. That's the tough part. In the sense, you know, like, there's the temptation, you know, and that's the hard thing. I think that's why we focus a lot on the long term here and talk about all this dowry stuff, because it's almost like, where's the off ramp for all of this? That makes sense. You know what I mean?
Spinning seems to imply that a man is not giving 100%, any one girl in particular.
Low leverage dating.
So how solid could these relationships be? If you gave 20% of one's effort into any specific...
It's not solid. And I mean, it's like, it's 20% solid because you're spinning 4 or 5 plates and she's doing the same thing, right? She's got 4 or 5 guys and everybody just has a roster and everybody's given 20% or 0% or 5%. It's like this almost polyamorous web, like an undercover polyamorous web, just not overt.
Specific relationship.
Like, people were doing that so much, it literally became overt. And now you have a whole new kind of dating where people date openly polyamorously, you know?
But ensure its failure. So then plate spinning becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah, and it's like you're trying to spin the plate and then get out of there before anything bad happens. You know what I mean? It's almost like getting away with doing something bad. You know what I mean? Luke says, well, even if there were a dowry type system in place, you're still looking at miserable marriages when the other half can't exit to ride the carousel when she's bored. You're double bind if leave. Yeah, and that's the tough part. You know, that's the true thing. If somebody doesn't want to be there, you know, then that sucks too. You know what I mean? Ideally, if they're invested in it, they would at least have more respect for what they're invested in. But yeah, I mean, that's a tough thing. That's where people are like, well, if you just change the laws to where they can't leave, then it would fix divorce. Well, you know, it might make it harder to divorce, but then, you know, your spouse might resent you and it would just lead to all that kind of stuff. And if you leave, you're screwed. Yeah, that's where I think the gold pill discussion about how do you get them mutually invested is important. Because then if you do leave, you know, it's not as screwed as you would be if you're the sole provider, you know, and they brought nothing. That's the tough part, man. Just heard our society described as a female slave society, which is interesting because females are the ones doing so much of the work and so many men are dropping out of the workforce. Oh, wow. Well, shouldn't they be proud of themselves? You can't get out if a false SA accusation comes along with spinning plates. Yeah, see, that's another problem too. It's like, ideally, marriage is supposed to be something that shields you from having to live that life, and you guys can kind of protect each other from the chaos of fast lane, high risk living like that. But you know, unfortunately, they found a way to make marriage not a good deal either. So it's like crap. That's where I think MGTOW appeals to a lot of guys. Changing the laws won't help necessarily. There should be no fault. But it has to be a double signature. Otherwise, there's no cash and prizes. Yeah, that's a thing. I mean, if somebody wants to leave, they can leave, but they don't get to just, especially if there is no fault, they shouldn't be able to leave with the assets of the marriage. Like, okay, you're leaving this enterprise, but it's just because you want to for whatever reason. That's not a legitimate fault-based reason. So you shouldn't destroy the lives of everybody else in this house, basically. Yeah. You need to stop your imagine SA or HR is going to have your ass. Yeah.
Is it possible that there are more variables other than alpha and beta? Attractiveness and providing. Do all women define alpha the same way? What does confidence mean? And how does one avoid one-itis? Is one-itis the same thing as being in love? How can you get married without thinking that a woman that you're with is the one? What kind of relationship could ever exist if the man is aware that almost everything a woman does is based on finding someone better? Is this a
That's the hypergamy
relationship at all? Aren't there always better men? What sort of...
Well, see, this is where something like a positive assertive match comes in. It's about how you're assessing the woman and how you're assessing the man. Then you can see if the match makes sense. But if you're assessing her on intangible qualities and you're being assessed solely on actual tangible material qualities, then the only thing that can make you take that deal is if you believe she's the one. And this is the failure of romantic love for a lot of people. So there are other ways to assess if she would make a good wife and you a good husband. That isn't believing, she's the one out of all of humanity. It's just that she's compatible in these ways.
Paranoia would this create? How is plate spinning a route to happiness? Are such men happy at all? Is it productive at all to assume that everything a woman says in this regard is a lie? Trust could never exist in such a relationship if the red pill is true. What about self-esteem? How come that doesn't seem to affect hypergamy? A man with low self-esteem gets rejected quite often. But where does self-esteem come from? Could low self-esteem be taken by the woman as a symptom of his past rather than an inherent aspect of his personality? Is a man insecure and hence repulsive? Or does it come from previous abuse? Can a woman even make this distinction?
I like his questions, man. I don't know. Kind of makes me want to listen to the whole thing. And it's an hour and 12 minutes. I do want to share it with you guys, though. I hope that me putting the link doesn't screw up my little chat thing here. But I do want you guys to have this because I know we're not listening to it all. If some of you guys like it, then, we'll give it a like, too. A male space
Even women, do they like the emotional turmoil that hypergamy brings them? What's the goal when there's always a better man out there? How can it lead to anything other than permanent instability?
See, and that's where how much of this is like a true female nature and how much of this is like an exploitation of nature or some kind of maladaptive quality, that doesn't actually serve any long-term purpose. It's like eating sugar, like refined sugar or like a Mountain Dew. It's like, yes, humans crave sweet and we eat fruits, naturally, and it's good for us and serves a purpose. But if you exploit that biological function and put it into hyperdrive by having Mountain Dew touch your tongue, then, you're just going to hurt yourself and it's bad for you in the long term. And it just gives you these unnatural cravings.
How can this make anyone happy, especially when it doesn't end? For women, what is the point of even landing an alpha male when he could just find someone new tomorrow? Having an alpha fall in love with you makes him what? Is he still attractive anymore? It seems that this entire conception and the postmodern romantic world is just dedicated to avoiding love. Now, none of this is to take away from the essential truths that the red pill puts out there.
I wonder if he understands like romantic chivalry and gynocentrism in love versus like a true familial love,
Again, the evolutionary psychology nonsense, it does damage to the theory. Importing postmodern sensibilities into much older societies is a huge...
Yeah, Peter Wright calls that presentism. And a lot of these Evo psych studies are taking samples from people in this society, you know, with the technologies we have and all that kind of stuff. And they're assuming it applies to humans in the past, which were under different conditions than we are now. So in some sense, Evo Psych is flawed because of that, which I find interesting. Men and women used to be held to standards. Base nature unfettered serves no one, not even the individual. Men are curbed by society and such. Women, they're encouraged. Yeah, you know, I mean, we were very much limited by parameters in our environment. And technology, you know, we call that the X factor, has enabled, you know, certain people to either kind of push off some of those consequences or take advantage of it. And that's the thing about Evo Psych too. And, you know, you're looking at kind of a base lower desires of humans, but is it the right decision to follow your base lower desires, or are those only for short-term in the now perceived gains that are actually very bad for you in the long term? You know what I mean? Most of living in a civilization is delayed gratification to some extent, and understanding that you have to, you know, limit the expression of your base desires in order to achieve better long-term outcomes. And that works not just for you, but for everybody, you know? Me angry, me want to beat up other person and bludgeon them over the head. Well, that's not good for you long-term or society, even though your base desire is telling you to do that. Or, you know, their base desire says sleep with this person. But, you know, there are very real consequences that can affect your long-term outlook here, like pregnancy and, you know, other things. He mistakes red pill with P-Way, as so many do. Yeah, I think that's fair to say. I think it's fair to say. I do like this philosophical approach, you know. That's what I'm thinking too. I guess the old guys share similar brain cells. We'll listen to a couple more minutes of it just for the heck of it. I'll probably call it at like 2 hours, 30 minutes. I did have some Instagram brain rot we can maybe laugh at before we call it.
Huge weakness. These people are not historians. A theory rises and falls in its assumptions. Yes, the red pill's contribution is in analyzing the behavior of the typical secular woman born and raised in the aftermath of the sexual revolution.
The typical secular woman. I think to some extent, red pill's observations also encompass tradcon women and so-called religious women too, to some extent, you know. So, but I don't know. Maybe I'm not understanding what he's meaning correctly.
That's where it has its power, but it has no applicability before then, and it need not reference anything that existed prior to our own very, very sick era.
Well, it would have definitely had less of a need. I mean, it makes sense that the red pill spawned in our current environment as a response to maybe especially newfound behaviors that are enabled by newer technologies. Behaviors that might have still been inherent to humanity in the past, but just not able to be expressed to such a degree.
The concept of evolutionary psychology is not much of a model. As I mentioned before, the primary framework doesn't rest on any real empirical foundation. It can't really make any empirical claims. Its frame of reference exists in a hypothetical past that conveniently possesses no historical records of any kind.
I do like his kind of challenging of Evo Psych. That's something, you know, I've wanted to undertake reading as much as I can about Evo Psych as I have the dowry. Only because, you know, having this conversation with red pillars, I think most of them are going to go to Evo Psych. It's interesting, too, when I was talking with Glenn Lawrence and Gia and Michael Sartain came in, literally within 40 seconds of him talking, he already mentioned Evo Psych, like Dr. David Buss and all that kind of stuff. And his whole thing pretty much rests on Evo Psych. So it's interesting. You know, we're going to be watching a YouTube video. It's a feminist that's criticizing how the manosphere is using Evo Psych. And it was recommended to me by a few folks. I think even Rollo and Michael Sartain made a response video to this one, but it's a long video. It's like 3 hours. So we might have to watch this video in parts like in the next few weeks. And then maybe we'll even watch Rollo and is it just Rollo or Michael Sartain? Maybe we'll watch their response to it as well. But, you know, I would like to dig deeper into that, into this whole Evo psych kind of conundrum. Because I think there's some merit to what he's saying about this kind of, and what Peter Wright says is a kind of presentism, and they're incorrectly attributing things to the past based off of Evo psych observations from, you know, the modern world. And it seems to be what he's talking about too. So it's interesting. Does secular exclude born-again virgins like Nala? I bet she's praying a lot. Klaus. Religious structures can control some behaviors through shame, but those have been thrown out, and feminism has spawned much more accepting inside religions too, so it is negated. Yeah, that's where I was like, secular women, I think it kind of encompasses a lot of the people who identify as religious too, to some extent, at least in our modern civilization. I think there is some truth to Evo Psych, but at the same time, they seem to posit that people have no control over their biology. Sorry, but that is just incorrect. Yeah, like for me, I think what they say is that, well, it's women's nature to be hypergamous. And it's just women who are hypergamous. But I doubt that. I think men are hypergamous and have been hypergamous. And we have the, historical data to show that men acted with hypergamy, motives, looking for the biggest dowry.
Which one of these broads has the richest father?
That's hypergamy right there. You know what I mean? And men were doing that on the marriage market. So I think there are definitely things to be pushed back. The thing about red pill, like, I don't know if everything is like scientifically sound, but the thing is a lot of the stuff it says has utility value. So it's like you can believe something is true and it may not be, but believing it's true may actually give you some utility value that has a positive benefit in your life. You know what I mean? So, women are hypergamous. You know what I mean? Yeah, maybe you going about thinking that just women might help you in some situations, but is it true, like just women being hypergamous, or only women can be hypergamous and it's part of their nature? Well, if men are hypergamous too, then this is just a human thing. It's not just a difference between men and women, actually. And it's just more of a recent thing we've seen because men have been gaslit to be in love while women are in business. But in the past, men were in business and women were in business. You know what I mean? So more recently, maybe it looks like just women are hypergamous. But going further back beyond that, it tends to look like both people were operating off of that when choosing for matchmaking, in marriage. So, I think it'll be a fun video for us to kind of go over and have a discussion about, because a lot of the, manosphere and the red pill stuff rests around Evo Psych, findings and all that kind of stuff. So it'll be fun regardless. That's true. And both sexes have mainly general traits. However, Evo Psych says a man will chase a skirt and force himself on as many because evolution. Man can control urges. Women can control urges. Sorry, I hope I read that right. Yeah, I mean, that's another thing too. So I don't know, there's just these interesting things. So hopefully we'll get more into that. God, I'm kind of tempted to listen to more of this. 2 hours, 30 minutes. Yeah, we'll give it another minute.
Evolutionary theory, if it says anything, argues that organisms are driven by a survival instinct, like a life force, something that must exist at the first appearance of any organic life whatsoever. It can't be added later on. Adaptations don't mean anything unless they promote the ability of the organism to not just survive, but to thrive, which really isn't saying a whole lot. Doesn't it make sense that the beta male would be the dominant group here, not the alpha? I mean, betas are the ones that are getting married, albeit maybe for the wrong reasons. Alphas would be the last group of men to be rewarded in the hypothetical prehistoric world that evolutionary psychology assumes exists, that the red pill always references. Alpha is not synonymous with wealthy or powerful.
I feel like Michael Sartain is going to hear that and he's going to be like, no, actually only 40% of men have passed on their genes, throughout humanity. So actually, most of the betas didn't. I don't know, something like it's going to go to some kind of Evo psych finding like that. You know what I mean? Gosh. Well, I think I could listen to this for a while, but let's see the comments. This man is a treasure. Just wait till he gets a hold of the black pill. Would be a lecture of the ages. Here's Peter Wright right here. Measuring male and female nature based on malignant postmodern behaviors and inferring those behaviors back into evolutionary history is missing the mark by a wide margin. Very good assessment, Yanni. Yeah, so, and Peter has said this to me, and, he's pretty clear about this on his Twitter posts, that he sees evolutionary psychology, in this fashion. And it makes sense, too. It makes sense that we're looking at behaviors that have been enabled by technology that we have now and saying this is natural to humans. And then going back in the past, maybe not so much so. So interesting thing. Let me see if I have some funny. All right, let's just look at some funny Instagram. Just stuff I bookmarked just as a little treat before we go. This one says 37, no kids, never married. This is complete brain rot, by the way, guys. I don't know why I feel I have to show this to everybody. I just must have thought it was funny. And, a lot of us over here, 37, no kids, never married. How does it feel? Okay, with the song. I just thought that was funny, guys. I don't know. I wanted to share that with you. Okay. I had to turn it off because the music, not that it matters too much, but let's see the comments. In this economy, I can barely afford to take care of myself. 41, this is by women too, ironically. 41, never married, child-free, single. It's amazing. I'm 34. Everything feels great. Thanks, everyone, for the love, even the haters who wish I was 50. Glad this could bring us all together. 41, no kids, single. I get lonely every now and then. That's a pretty realistic comment. But I can't tell you how many of my good friends have been divorced or never get to see their kids, so my loneliness is minuscule in that regard. Oh, my God. P.S. I don't have a bedtime, and I don't have to answer to anyone. I feel like this is the complete opposite of, like, the level of conversation we were just listening to. Look at the parents in the comment section that are jealous. It's funny if you ask any parents what their ideal perfect day would be with no context. It usually always starts something like grandma. Grandpa takes the kids and they sit at home and do nothing or go somewhere, which is essentially everybody without kids, everyday activity or spontaneously going somewhere. Just for the, this is a little over the top. Obviously having a family is very rewarding. It's just funny. You know what I mean? 38, zero regrets. Can't wait to die alone. I don't see men telling him he'll die alone with his cats. To each their own. I have kids, but I believe it's not for everyone, and that's just fine. Make this video again at 67. I'm sorry. I don't know. This is just funny. This is just funny to me. Alpha, beta, sigma, etc. It's all Huinaya. Context is really important. Only dudes that see themselves as alpha get their panties in a bunch and have to be number one in every arena, which is impossible. Yeah, those guys are operating from some sort of ego issue. Alpha Appalachia. Okay, so we got Sasquatch from Appalachia. I married at 35. Don't do it till you want to. Shout out to you, man. Well, thanks for coming in here, man. I think this might be my first time seeing you. Smart men don't get married. Shout out, Luke. 0 of these people will be around next generation. Speaking of evolutionary psych. Yo, username. Hey, man, welcome in. Thanks for coming in. All right, so that was kind of funny. Let me just see if I have another one just before we cut in. Okay, here we go. Point of view, asking my son to give other 17-year-old boys advice. So let's see what this guy's got to say. This might even be like a kind of Dontavius in spirit, but, let's see. Klaus says, I'm 60 and can feel that video. All right, let's see this. So what does this young 17-year-old man got to say? What's his advice to other boys? Oh, crap. Hey, yo, Dante.
I'm on the phone.
Okay.
I have a quick question. Can you get your hair out of your face? What advice would you have for another 17-year-old?
I can't remember exactly what he said, but I thought it was good enough to say.
Don't trust women.
Don't trust women.
Get some money.
Get money, huh?
What?
Don't trust women. Just get some money.
That's your advice?
Yeah.
What other advice do you have?
I'm going through it right now, so that's my advice.
Oh, he's going through a breakup.
Never ever talk to women. Honestly, I think we should start a women hate.
MGTOW is starting real early for the folks.
And we should only love our mothers, sisters, and grandmothers.
There you go. Okay, yeah, only loving your actual kin. Okay.
But we should stop talking to women for like 5 years and just focus on money, and then we all be up. And then by the time the 5 years over, I think these women will have learned a lesson, and they'll stop doing crazy stuff to us.
Okay, so yeah, he's asking for men to walk away temporarily. I mean, he must have been listening to Don Tavius.
You gotta stay gaming, bruh. Don't focus on no girls. Just stay gaming.
Yeah, this is very Don Tavius reminiscent.
You know I'm posting this, right?
That's fine. I actually want you to make sure. How long is this?
What do you mean how long this? Well, we've been recording for a minute.
Good. I hope y'all watch this whole minute because, like, I'm letting y'all know, like, these women, they like don't trust them.
What about your mom?
Not said.
No, he said, yeah, mom, grandma, sister.
Our moms. We should only trust.
I know, but I'm I'm a woman first before I'm your mom.
No, you're not. Not in my eyes. You're my mama first. So I don't want to hear none of that. Your mom, you can trust your mom and your sister, and your grandmother.
This is the mom trying to simplify the kid, but he's showing a remarkable resistance and aversion to her tactics here. This could be a young Jedi that we're witnessing.
But you shouldn't have any intimacy with any women for the next 5 years. I think as men, if we do that, we will grow stronger. We would have much more money, and then these women will realize like they really do need us. And they'll stop playing with us.
Yeah, so once men walk away, see, I mean, MGTOW's the only thing that works, guys. That's when people start asking, like, oh, crap, where'd all the guys go?
That's how they do.
Okay. Yeah. That didn't really go as planned, but thank you. Thank you for your input.
That was pretty funny. I thought that was funny. I got a decade on him, and I needed to hear this. Smart young man. 17 years old and already thinking like a 30-year-old unk. Who hurt this young man? Oh, there comes the who hurt you. This is the best advice you gonna hear. I wish I learned that at 17. Then women will realize they really do need us. I don't know if this is genius or sad. Hey, look, Steph is cold. Okay, smart young man. He's definitely going places. I am a woman and I approve this message. And when I give birth to my son, I will be telling him the same thing. Or showing him this video if I can find it. Unfortunately, you can't trust your mom, grandmother, and sisters. Rather, because yes, they are women first. He's learned early. I've heard enough. Get this man into office. All right, that was pretty funny. All right, maybe one more. Do we got one more? The X Factor murder of Crow, shout out to you, is real, but so is the simultaneous positive social license of any female behavior that came along with it. Yes, yeah, I mean, there definitely is that. But, you know, these things play into each other as new vistas and capabilities open up, the culture is affected and narratives change, you know. You got to find the woman with the richest father. Exactly.
Which one of these broads has the richest father?
Yeah.
I'm old now, but I don't feel like I was missing out. Yeah, I mean, that's a positive thing to hear. I think a lot of people can echo that sentiment. Dontavius 2026, exactly.
You gotta stay gaming, bruh. Don't focus
you
on
gotta
the
stay
girls,
gaming.
Stay gaming.
First heartbreak break sucks. It certainly does. I think he's lucky to be going through it at 17 instead of going through it at, like, you know, 32 and 7 years in a marriage. So, you know, seems like that wouldn't last. Women have to become mothers somehow. MGTOW speak. They all cower and are afraid of MGTOW. Exactly. MGTOW. Guy is 17 and based. Dontavius. Let me see if I got one more. I got one more, but it's just a funny one. So let's see. I actually got a couple more, but I can't remember what this one was. I think this one is just like a joke. This one is just a joke. All right, let's see here. Advice for men. Let's see what she's got to say.
If you're a man, let me give you a piece of advice. If you ask a woman on a date. If you're a man.
Okay, maybe we got one more. I don't actually know if this is a good one, but I saved it. So this will be the last one. I feel like we haven't looked at like Instagram brain rot for a while. Let's see what this guy's got to say.
No, I'm happy being single. Sorry, film this shit. I'm happy being single. Been in 2 relationships, 10 years each. I can promise you niggas, if you spend your motherfucking life trying to please these women, buying pussy, giving money, it don't make a difference whether you young, whether you old, you a motherfucking fool. Because you see what they do, the pussy ain't yours, so they're not happy, they will give somebody else that pussy. I promise you, it doesn't matter how much
this man got so red-pilled, he had to paint his entire room red.
I lived in a mansion. I've had 2s, 3s, 4s, 5s, I'm quarter horse bitches. Bitches so fine you'll drink their bath water. Doesn't matter. They're all the same, especially financially. Women who really get that bag don't even be talking about what a nigga gonna do for them. I don't even deal with women who have this thing where you think you gotta take care of them. You do not take care of no motherfucker with pussy.
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. He's not red pill. He's gold pill.
Your dowry. It's my right. Free. I don't know who told you niggas that. Now I don't know what city you niggas live in, but me, I lived in Atlanta, I lived in New York, I lived in Cali. Pussy does not cost money. Now you can take a woman, a queen on a date. You can take her to eat. You can take her out. It does not matter. That's great. We all gonna eat. I've done it again. Sometimes you're gonna spend a couple $100 on a date. Sometimes you ain't gotta do nothing but pick her up, come to the house. It ain't about that. Y'all took it all away. If the women don't like you, the problem is y'all getting advice from these women who don't even fucking like y'all. So you're buying someone to like you. That's it. When a woman naturally likes you, that pussy gets wet. That's it. You can fuck her in the back of your car. I've done it 100 fucking times. Woo! Bad bitches. Since I was fucking 17, I'm fucking...
Okay. I think we got the gist of that one. He lives at Death Row Records. Oh, God. Train has left the station. Yeah. The richest father didn't work out for me, though. Okay, richest father, and he's got to open his wallet. He's 100% correct. If a woman truly likes you, she's going to spend money on you. Trust. This is like the Klaus experience right here. I'm telling my sons this was a Malcolm X speech. I'm saving this video for my son, and he's only 2. He needs to get the game early. You can tell they just broke up or something. He's going off. I felt that in my soul. Close enough. Welcome back, Kevin Samuel. Oh my God, dude. Yeah, so that's our fun Instagram videos, right? I mean, we got other ones. Oh my God, did I show you guys the Hugh Hefner one? I'm sorry, we got one more, folks. I'm gonna need you to stay after class for a couple more, just another minute here. Stay after class, folks. Okay, I didn't know this about Hugh Hefner, but check out Hugh Hefner's background. Hugh Hefner on why he started in Playboy.
I went into my marriage virgin, in the sense that I had slept with only one person before in my life, the woman that I then married. Right after I was engaged, my wife-to-be had an affair.
So Hugh Hefner was married as a virgin, and after he was, or whatever, I guess his wife had an affair.
And told me about it just a short time before the wedding.
Okay, so it was prior to the wedding, but he was only with her, and they were going to get married. He was going to get married to this woman, and she had an affair just prior to the wedding, and admitted it to him.
That, in combination with the Puritan background, had a dramatic impact on me. And I am absolutely certain that a part of what lay behind the establishment of Playboy was a throwing off the chains of personal hurt and indignity and Simultaneous with that, a quest for some better way. I went into my marriage.
So I just thought that was interesting. That's the origin story, the sort of Batman origin story of Hugh Hefner there. So, yeah, interesting. Yeah, and she lets you drive the Porsche. Exactly. All right. Well, 2 hours and 49 minutes. I'd say that's pretty good for tonight. I kind of wanted to keep it a shorter one today. Let's see. What song are we going to play here tonight? We got a lot of them. We got a lot of good songs. And I got the SoundCloud open, which Mr. Pitt so kindly made, with all these amazing songs to choose from. Deadbeat Woman is damn. You know, I can't remember if I like Better Get My Dowry Original. Let's get that one going. Continue with Facebook. Oh, what the hell? There we go. I don't know where the volume button is. Oh, there it is. Oh. We'll start it again. All right, folks. I hope everybody has a good week and had a great New Year. Oh, damn, I messed up. I hate how this volume tab works. I don't want it to be too loud. There we go. I think the remix is the one I liked, actually. Oh, this is the one. My bad, guys. Hell yeah. The Gynocracy is trying to gaslight men. I dropped an article in the Discord. Let me see that. Better get my diary, don't mess with me. Better get my diary, don't play no games. Men need to lower their standards on dating apps, new study shows. Well, that's interesting. Oh, damn it, I gotta allow ads. All right, let's look at this. 80% of women are pursuing the top 20%, but new research reveals it's actually fellas who are aiming too high when swiping for love. International researchers analyzed the behaviors of almost 3,000 heterosexual users of a Czech dating app. Okay, so that's I mean, maybe they could have used one of the bigger apps. The research revealed that women sometimes choose slightly less desirable partners on average. Okay, so women are looking for a beta provider. Thank you, science. However, the study showed that successful matches tended to happen between people with similar levels of desirability. Okay. Thus, to avoid feeling frustrated and rejected when using dating apps, the research suggests that men should be realistic about their own desirability and not attempt to date out of their own league. Okay, thank you. Thank you, New York Post. Yeah, it does feel a little gaslighty. It's just the nice way of saying, men, you know, do better, guys. Or, you know, take an extremely undesirable person. Interesting. Thanks for sharing that. Good night, y'all. Take it easy, Murderer Crows. Thanks for coming. Driving off alone is always a winner in my book. Let me find that. I'll do that one just for you, man. Driving off alone, right here. That one was born from your prompt, brother. That was funny, Af. Gold pill indeed. Yeah. You got it best. I saw the cracks. Listen to all the greatest hits here. Thanks for sharing that link, man. I love this song. This is a clean song. This is a good song. So which of the 0 women you match with should you pursue? How do they account for the people not on the apps? Apps are basically hookup culture tools, so how does that really say anything? Yeah, no, I mean, using data from one obscure Czech app and projecting those findings onto all men in the West is crazy work. Exactly. Like, that immediately was like, that's weird. And I don't know about you guys, but at one point I just swiped on everyone just to see what happened. Yeah, I think, you know, I think a lot of people have done that, which was nothing. Gaslighting at its finest. I'm doing well dating out of my league. Exactly. Play, you let him hit it raw. Oh my God, dude. Man, I love this song. I really need to get this, like, I think I can access this on my phone from my car. I need to save this on my phone so I can blast it while I'm driving. Man, you guys have just done such an amazing job with the AI. Hopefully, guys, I can share with you the discussions I had with Glenn Lawrence and Effective Purpose sometime this week. So maybe in the middle of the week, you know, I can share that in the Discord, and you guys can get a chance to view it. So at least we'll get some content, you know, going on here. Man, this song is too good. Thank you for suggesting that. That song was too good right there. Never used apps and never will. You can access all the tracks of the SoundCloud app on your phone. Perfect. Yeah, I gotta make that happen because I actually want to blast some of these, you know, out of the old car speakers. Do you want to play Curb Appeal Club Mix? All right, let's do that. Curb Appeal Club Mix. Hit 10K subs today. Shout out to you, man. Orum's YouTube channel's going off, man. Good job, bro. That's awesome, bro. Keep it going. I see your post, man. Shout out to Orum. Swiping on everyone and getting nothing is crazy. W Orum, absolutely. I love that, man. Orum has like interesting music on his YouTube channel. Congrats, Orum. Maybe we can pull it up. Can share it with the folks again. If I'm putting this right. Dang it, I know I'm subbed to you. We'll find it. If you want to share it in the Discord too, please. Are there comments on this article? 82 comments. You'll never hear anyone telling women to lower their standards. They're always encouraged to aim for the highest fruit on the tree of life, no matter how unrealistic. Meanwhile, men are constantly told to settle. Oh my gosh. There is an obvious methodological mistake. They evaluated partner desirability by number of matches. Women in these apps always have a huge number of matches. This is the source of their conclusion. This is interesting. Driving off alone. So interesting. They evaluated partner desirability by number of matches. Women in these apps always have a huge number of matches. This is the source of their conclusion. Completely invalid and laughable. How can you try and pass this off as science? A woman has 100 matches in a week is probably on the level of a man that has one match a year. I mean, he brings up a good point. Not the only mistake. You can't judge desire. God, this guy really went into it. You can't judge desirability on pictures. The fact men sleep with women and don't call them back show that desirability doesn't work the same across genders. High investment for men before sex, lower than and opposite-ish for women. Yeah, I mean, there's really all kinds of stuff that was wrong with that. If I were using this app, I would make it clear in my personal description that I was not interested in porkers and was interested in meeting women who were intelligent, physically active, slender, and well-adjusted. If that's aiming too high, tough. Okay, yeah, that was funny. Thanks. I never thought I'd be a YouTuber, but I had a bunch of recorded music sitting around since my 20s. Well, I'm glad you put it out there, man. And that, you know, that's the beautiful thing about YouTube and all that stuff, or I don't know, all this kind of social media, even life in general. It's like, you don't know when your star is going to rise, like people become successful in some people in their 20s, someone like Jordan Peterson, right? Like his star rose in his, I think 50s. I think he might've been in his 50s when he really started getting big, so it's always good to try stuff and you never know when the hand of God picks you up. So I'm glad, man. That makes sense. Guy gets 2 possible matches and chooses one, has chosen 50%, while a woman chooses 1 out of 100 as 1%. Both just choose one person. Yeah, I mean, that article was... that was a bit of a rag article right there. Like, they're... had about as, toilet paper had more value than that, but... anyways, yeah, I'll let y'all go. Yeah. Man, stop being hypergamous. All right, folks. Well, yeah, we had fun today, man. I'll try to get those collabs. Hopefully they get posted, and I'll share them in the Discord. More collabs on the way. There's stuff in the pipeline, man. So, and then I'm going to be trying to make more standalone videos. I'm just going to try to make short, like 9-10 minute videos. And, just simple stuff, nothing crazy. Just to do it. I think it'll help get me in the swing of things. Yeah. Wait, that sort of works the opposite direction of what the commenter was claiming. Well, maybe we'll have to look at that again, but everybody have a great night. Hope you have a fantastic rest of your weekend, and everybody has a fantastic year ahead of them. And, any projects you're working on, hope you guys reach some goals there and, get to enjoy life and, have meaningful experiences. So